hide that. I think we're in. Five people
posture.
are in the show.
Posture. Oh my God.
All right, guys, welcome to day 2 of the Canadian Reptile Breeders Expo. We have a live show again. We have a lot of different people that are popping by today, so it's going to be a fun day. We could be here for 3, 4, 5 hours. I don't even know. We won't be here that long. I hope not. Our backs will be destroyed by then.
I was saying, I got a voice.
Yeah. My voice is destroyed.
This is the first time on day 2 that I'm already losing my voice.
Yeah. I'm surprised that I have a voice this morning because it's just like a whole day of talking louder than you're normally talking.
Dillon sounded pretty rough this morning.
Yeah. I sounded cool, I thought.
Okay, cool. He sounded cool.
That's
That's right.
wicked.
Yeah.
More like Batman.
For those who are in the chat, as always, if you're early, so you're also going to be sound engineers. So if there are any issues with the sound, just quickly let us know. It's actually getting a lot busier in here than it was an hour ago, so it's a little bit louder than I was thinking. But if there's any sound issues, let us know. If you can hear us all, give us a thumbs up too, so we know. And in the meantime, let's introduce James Graham, Top Shelf Gecko, previous guest of the podcast. Welcome.
Thank you. Always happy to be back.
Yeah, happy to have you here. How is the show going so far?
It's good. It's definitely a new experience, I would say, compared to other years.
How many years have you done this one?
The CRBE?
Yeah.
I mean, there's been years that I've missed in it, but I would say out of the past 11 years, I've vended probably 7.
Okay.
And I've attended the rest of
them. Yeah. You've been coming for a long time. That makes sense.
Yeah, I've been doing this for a bit now.
So what makes it different? Like you were saying, it
just feels different. I can't fully put my finger on it. I definitely feel like part of it is this feels very much like a pet expo, which I'm not saying reptiles aren't pets, but the breeder expo was always it felt like we always see the American expos, right? Where there was, that's where you were going to go to see the variety. That's where you were going to go to see the cool things you could never see.
Yes. Yeah.
But I feel like I at this point, I kind of know the 2 booths or 3 booths I got to walk up to see those cool things. Yeah. Or I'm seeing ball pythons.
Yeah,
that's kind of what we were talking about as we were doing our lap this morning, because we didn't actually do a lap yesterday. And I mean, there's some cool ball pythons here, but I feel like we're hitting a point now where I think people are going to have to diversify, right? Because you come to an expo, it's expensive to come here, travel, have a booth. Like we were saying to the one vendor, if you only have the one product, it's actually hard to have success here. Like you're just jumping into a pool of just tons of competition. And it can be tough to make the sales that you need to sell just to break even.
And if it's one product that is the same product as other tables, even if you have unique morphs and stuff like that, some people can pull things around. But
I feel like I maybe struck out a little bit there with the fat sales being my main thing for so long. Nobody ever seemed to want to get into them. So I just kind of always had it to myself, and there was always people who wanted them, but it's not like the leopard geckos, for example, where a lot of people go to that as their first pet.
Exactly.
People don't even see a fat tail before they have their first reptile. So
it's so true. It's such a piece of advice that I try to give people when they want to get into breeding. Like, pick something a little bit different. Like, find an animal that you really like, but don't pick something that's so common that it's hard to get your name out there.
Yeah, I think there's both sides to that coin, because at the same time, if you're working with something and it is popular, it means people are going to want it. You're not going to sit on the animal, which isn't going to make you or the animal suffer financially or in terms of morality with the animal. Yes. So I do like that part of breeding popular things. For the most part, what I try to breed are good pets.
Yes.
I don't want to breed the complicated stuff as much because there's less of an audience for the complicated stuff. But when I'm breeding the collared lizards, really easy to take care of. Shorter lifespan than a lot of other reptiles, extremely easy diet. The care is pretty easy to set up. And in that case, I know I'm giving them an animal that is going to probably thrive because it's not one of those finicky animals and it is more popular. So there's more information out there.
And they're incredible.
And they're beautiful.
Yeah,
they're so incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny the way certain species took hold and it doesn't leave room. Like an Aki, for example. I know you keep Akis. I always hear like these are the bearded dragon. Like this should be the bearded dragon of the hobby, but it's bearded dragons that take that instead. An animal that gets actually larger, well, maybe not larger, but just in general, people seem to love their Akis. Not that they don't love the bearded dragons, but it seems like there's a hole there that
there is. Well, I think I think there's a level of absolutism, if that's a
I think that's a word.
Sure. That it's beardy, so that's what's recommended. Every store recommends that. Every YouTuber, like there's a basic point of this is the beginner, instead of being like these are the options that we would recommend.
It's never options. It's true. It's never options. This is the leopard gecko's the good gecko. The beardy's the good agamid.
Yes.
The ball python's the good snake. And there is a lot of other options that are equally as good.
Yeah. Well, and too, like you mentioned, the lifespan is something that's a shorter lifespan is it's super overlooked. I mean, I heard someone just across in this booth here, a person. I mean, we get a lot of random people in here that aren't reptile folks, but they were asking the booth like, how long does this snake live for? About 5 years, like the hognose. So people are kind of expecting kid pets to last between 5 and 10 years. They don't realize, this is a 50-year-old ball python. It could be.
Yeah.
Which is sort of crazy. So tell us what else you have. I know you talked about the African fat tails and the collards. What else do you have at the table?
At the table today, we have Chihuahua, gargoyles. We're pretty much out of crested geckos. We only have like 2 left, and we brought all of them. We don't want to
keep any breeders.
No, we don't want to keep anything in terms of cresties. It's a really, 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 really flooded market, and I think over the next couple of years, I don't see it recovering as quick as it has in the past, basically. Yes. So I would rather not contribute to that right now, because I do think there's going to be a pretty large amount of crested geckos over the next few years that will need homes just from the tsunami wave of cresties during COVID.
Another species that lives a long time.
Again, exactly. Some people are even being like, I have cresties that are coming up on like 25, 30 kind of thing. And it's like that, again, that's why I like the collared lizards. It's really unrealistic to say I know where I'm going to be in 25 years.
Nobody can.
8 to 10, like maybe roughly at least. You're not like, I realize it's still a little long time, but it's not double the time or triple the time.
It's like a dog, slightly shorter than a dog.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, and you'd also mentioned to me yesterday, because when you were on the podcast, we did talk a little bit about fat tail morphs, right? And that's kind of where you'd start. Is that kind of where you started with that focus? I know you.
You mean it started in terms of reptile breeding?
So
I actually started with boas, imperators.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a snake guy.
And
I kind of got to the point with snakes where almost every time I was bringing in a new snake or getting a new line, there was something wrong with it. Snake breeders were either like guys in the States. So I bought three boas from the States. The guy sent me the completely wrong animals after going through all the CITES paperwork for thousands of dollars that I spent, just all the wrong animals. I got another animal from the States. It was supposed to be perfectly healthy, came in with a massive tail kink. And then I got some from a guy in Canada. All of them had mites. And I just got to a point where I went, you know what? The care that's being given here is not the type of care I do. They're looking over things I would never look over on an animal.
Yes.
I just was like, I don't want a part of that. And then I kind of found the fat tails from there because someone was actually, they said, I'll trade you some of these fat tails for one of your boas. So I did that trade, and
there you go.
Yeah, the next 10 years of my life were set.
But you said yesterday too that you're starting to move away from, I don't think fat tails necessarily, but morphs in general.
Yeah. I just think in my old age, just as I'm in the hobby more, I see the morphs to kind of be the money hungry thing where we're trying to, how much can we cram in? We're not worrying about the health of the animal as much, like things like that. And my whole focus on what we do at Top Shelf is breeding animals I know will make good pets once they get to a
that's
new
so
home.
Key. Yeah.
And the morphs don't always do it. Caramel females won't breed. I spent probably $4,000 on caramel females before any fat tail breeder said to me, hey, those don't breed. I probably spent a couple thousand on ghost genes from a breeder that's at the expo. Nothing. You can't get anything out of ghost females.
Wow.
And so I got to a point where I went, okay, this is how I have to do it. And now I'm at the point where I'm going, okay, like for Mark that you talked to yesterday from Can Geckos. I always see this base that he has of leopard geckos where they started line breeding things and making the normals look nice. And then they were putting it into these other things.
Yes, with stability.
With stability, and it's elevating it because you've also been able to line breed that animal for stability, but also maybe some patterning or color. Yes. So you're elevating the morphs you do work on later. So I'm just going to take a step back for a few years and really focus on my normal fat tails.
Yeah,
to just try to get them as big, healthy, and possibly I have some little cool projects I'm working on that varies the look of the normals.
That's cool. I mean, and too, it goes back to making a good pet, right? A good pet can't cost $1,000. No. Like a good first pet, like like no one's gonna care for $1,000 gecko for the first thing. So that's pretty cool. And I also want to talk to you about just we're at an expo. The expo is always where the light of the hobby gets shined because people come. We have animal rights people that come in. This is like these animals live in these tubs, and this is where we get the most criticism, I'd say. And your booth is set up beautifully, and the animals look like they're in good condition. So maybe you can just walk the listeners and the viewers through what you're doing on your table to just give the animals a little bit more than just the the bright lights.
Yeah, so I think that was one of the whole time I've been in the hobby. That's been one of my things, is that reptile expos, as much as I love them because we get to come here, I get to see friends, I get to communicate with people that have similar interests. I always hated seeing the animals clearly cold, clearly cramped in some cases. And I really wanted to kind of elevate what I was doing. And it wasn't so much to make anyone else look bad or do. I just wanted to be like, hey guys, we can do this. It looks better to the whole general public. And that's what we really need to be hitting on, is the general public, especially if we're doing these pet expos.
Totally.
Because that's who you're getting the is that how it lives kind of thing?
Yes.
So so we make sure every animal has a natural substrate in with it. If it's a sand animal, it's got sand. If it's like the fat tails, we give them like the mixture we would make at home. That's similar to like an ABG. Same with the chewies, the cresties, the gargs, all those get that. And then we set up the collared lizards exactly like we do at home. We just bring the enclosures that we host them in at home and set them up.
Yeah.
So people can see exactly how healthy. Everyone goes by and they just stop there and they just stand there for 10, 15 minutes. And I'm like, do you have any questions? They're like, no, I'm just watching them.
Yeah.
Are you going to buy anything?
Yeah.
I honestly, I like that they're watching.
Yeah,
they don't even need to buy because I know, but it's that seeing people connect to an animal that they had no idea even existed for the most part.
Yes.
Collared lizards aren't not popular, but in Canada, they're not a very common thing.
That's true.
So now people are seeing them and they're going, oh, this is like a beardy, but it moves. It actually moves.
Yeah. And they're so inquisitive.
Patterning, patterning, they're beautiful. All the different species.
Yeah. So we're just basically trying to, I guess, elevate what we've seen at expos that we didn't like. So that hopefully other people follow. Right. That's all. I can't make anyone. I can just show this is what we're doing, and I think this is right. They don't have to. Right. Everyone's
leading by example is the best way to
exactly. And that's all I can do is lead by example.
Yeah. Well, and too, like if those little collared lizards were in a deli cup, someone could just walk right past them. They might not even see them, right? Because you're on a table, a sea of deli cups. You get to see these little guys roaming around. They're super cute. They're very inquisitive. You're exposing that behavior to the person, and which I love, showing people an example of what the setup should be.
Yes.
That's something that gets totally missed here almost entirely. There's a few, enclosure salespeople down there, which is really cool too, but there's no good examples. You go walk down to the fish section. There's tons of examples of beautiful aquariums. Like this is what these setups should look like. This is how to do it. And there's escaping contests. It seems like we miss that here.
But being able to do something like that for the reptiles.
Oh,
having an escaping snake competition.
Why not? Yeah.
For we have these escape for this. That would be incredible.
Yeah.
Our we're not there yet. The fish people are way.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. I feel like because that's all the fish part's probably the smallest section out of it. So if they're willing to put that effort in, I mean, we definitely.
Oh, we could.
There's people here that I know make crazy enclosures.
Oh yeah.
So I would love to see them just escape something.
Yeah.
Like on a stage.
It would be incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
I don't know how we get there, but I would love to. I would love to get there where more people want to display the animals, because you're gonna just get more out of your customer too.
Totally.
I know that sounds weird, but when they're seeing how you're doing it, you're gonna have to give them less effort. They've been given your example,
and they pass good information on.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like our experience at the live. Have you been to Live Beetles? Daniel's table. It's is that
I went at the last expo. I haven't been this one yet.
Oh man, and it's so cool. He's got all these beetles. They're all native, and then suddenly you're talking to him about like how mushrooms grow and how to collect mushrooms to feed these things.
Yeah, and he's got these cool little things. That I was blown away. I've chatted with him many times, but I hadn't actually having that opportunity and seeing that was great. And if we had that for our species, how cool would that be? Setting up a large natural escape for one of the species you bring.
And that's the thing.
Exactly,
I don't also think any reptile companies are trying to design something where you see ARS, the plastics, clear ones everywhere. No one's trying to do one that's maybe a bit taller with lights, or it's not a complicated process.
Exactly.
It's just no one is pushing for it. So in a sense, I'm trying to not vocally push for it, but look at what we're doing. Please try to follow this. Even Alan, I think one of the last expos, when he was doing the walk-arounds, he went, this is what I want people to do.
Yeah.
And I was just like, me too, man. I don't know what to tell you. Me too.
Yeah.
Oh, Alec?
Yeah, Alec. Yeah.
Yeah, Alec, Dr. Brown. Yeah, he was on here yesterday.
Brown.
Yeah, he went. He said, "This is what I want people to do," and I was like, Me too. I'm doing it. Tell tell others.
Absolutely.
And you could do it. I mean, luckily with collards, they can be sort of a colony at a young age.
Yes. Yeah.
But you could do small enclosures, little things that are set up. And the other thing too that you do even in your deli cups is put like natural wood in, which sort of accentuates the animal in there. Like the pieces of birch that you have in there, like the chua geckos look incredible, and it just elevates everything.
Yeah. I just want it to. I also want it. It's not just for looks too, right? I want it to be able to get out of the ground, the dirt that's on the ground.
Exactly.
They don't always want to just sit in dirt. Some of them do bury themselves, but some of them will sit on that piece of birch the whole weekend.
Yeah, it's cool. I think that's the way to go. I think that part of that is like community, people seeing what you're doing. It looks fascinating, and hopefully they start copying. And hopefully too that you're making more sales because of that sort of situation, because people see the interaction with the lizards, and that might get people to copy you as well. Like, oh, people can actually see the fascinating behavior of these little guys.
I definitely think as far as the collards go, at expos, I sell them because they're in those.
Exactly.
Multiple people have brought collared lizards to these expos, and they don't set them up like that, and they're just in a deli. They won't show their oranges. They're not going to show the small hints of blue that they do have at that age. So just heating them up, it's just every bit of it is positive for me. They look better for the customer, which makes them easier to sell. They're active. They're happy because they're warm. It's a 100% positive. So I just don't see the reason for all of us to not be kind of pushing towards that.
Yeah.
No, agreed.
I love it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, James, this was fantastic. This is like 20 minutes of just gold.
No.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
My wife's all alone.
Yeah, I know. Is there anything else you want to say before we wrap up?
That's what makes it better.
Yeah.
No, just the same as my last plug when I was on your show.
Yeah.
If you guys can find any way to help the Solomon Islands, there is under a percentile of it protected. It's really hard to find programs for it. And if anyone can even find a program, I would love if they would point me to it so that I could start helping that program.
Yeah, because you keep monkey tail skinks.
I keep monkey tail skinks, and they are, don't tell my wife, they're the love of my life. I adore those animals.
No one will see this.
So yeah, my shout out now is pretty much always, if you can help a country that has animals that you love in it, do that.
Okay,
do that.
Awesome. Thank you very much, James. Now, James, I think we're going to talk to Fadi for a bit, but then I want to talk to Robin from.
Okay.
So could you send her over just tell her like at noon to come over here?
Noon? Got it.
That would be awesome. Yeah, thanks, man. We'll come see you in a bit.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Fadi, you coming on?
Only if you want me to.
Yes, please come on down.
Want me to. I don't think people are going to want me to come on.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everybody.
How you guys doing?
This is Fadi. He is the man of the whole show, really.
Something like that.
So
I can't take all the credits.
Some of you are probably familiar with Fadi on Instagram, Daffy's Reptiles.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That's me.
But you are in charge of this, what it seems like.
I handle the social media for the expos, for the.
Is that all your job is?
So that's what my job title is. But as you guys have seen over the past 2 days, it entails for a lot more. So once we get to the expo, we're actually a fairly small team. So we all do everything, right? So
yes.
From the biggest task to like, let's lift tables and move them here, to somebody needs chairs. That's all got to be done.
Yeah, you've been just running around since Friday morning.
My feet are killing me.
Yeah, I imagine. Yeah, but it's been an incredible show. I think it's been awesome.
Thank you very much. It's
been a lot of fun.
The turnout is definitely incredible.
Yeah, it got a lot busier this morning too, and
slow start this morning.
Yeah, a little slow, but then now it's full.
I think everyone's still tired from yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. And no issues. Everything's running smooth so far.
Everything's running smooth so far. Super excited about the Canadian Aquatic Expo. We had a little bit of a hiccup since you said smooth. We had a little bit of a hiccup on the aquatic stage with the microphones, but now that that's sorted, I'm a lot more calm and everything's going smooth. Okay,
cool. Yeah, I wasn't sure. We knew that you were going to stop by. I'm like, who knows what will happen?
What time? Yeah.
There might be fires that he has to go put out. But let's talk about what you do, because you're a reptile keeper yourself. You're a herpetoculturalist, and why don't you tell us? Because you weren't born in Canada.
I was not. No.
So did you start keeping reptiles in? Is it Abu Dhabi?
I was raised in Abu Dhabi. I was not keeping any reptiles there.
Okay.
That was a big no for my parents, of course. But I have been keeping aquariums since I was 4.
Okay.
So breeding guppies isn't a big thing, but I have been breeding guppies since I was 4.
Yeah.
And then I around like 12 or 13, I got an African gray parrot, and that was pretty much my life for a long time. And then I came here. My second year in Canada, I was like, no, I need a pet in the house. And somehow it ended up being a crested gecko, and snowballs from there.
Yeah. And then you did some work at a reptile store as well.
I did Critter Jungle in Ottawa. Yeah, I worked there for 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so why don't you bring us up to speed now? Like, what's that in your reptile room?
What's in my reptile room right now?
Yeah.
You guys you want to take the whole next 2 hours? No, I'm just kidding. So mainly, you guys may already know this, mainly mountain horn dragons. So I have 4 species of mountain horn dragons, Capras, Bintangensis, Lipidogaster, and actually I haven't announced this anywhere yet, but yes, I have an Italia now. So 4th species of mountain horn dragon that I'm super excited about. And then just a assortment of different geckos, so Stenodactylus geckos, Pictus geckos, emerald tree skinks as well, not a gecko, I know. And yeah, newts and some fish, and that's pretty much it.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I love the Stenodactylus project because they're so small, and it just I
think they're the perfect bets.
Yeah, everybody listens to me. I always say this, but having small animals, I think, is so key for our hobby, just because it's so much easier, obviously. And
ouch.
Yeah, sorry, monitor guy. I have no issue with people keeping monitors, but as people jumping into the hobby, like little, because what is a Stenodactylus?
Like 2 or 3 inches as an adult. Yeah, so like you're saying, like get a 15-gallon, put like 3 in there, and really see the behaviors of like them having the space to move around. It's incredible. Whereas like
putting little predators.
Oh, they're awesome. You see the little tail wags as they're going, and they chirp. That's, I don't think something that most people don't know is actually the males chirp at night too.
That's
so
cool.
Like they're such an interesting species.
Yeah. That's awesome. And then so tell me about the horn, because you were telling me about the horn dragons this morning, right? The breeding. So that was has that been a challenge getting those things to go? Obviously each species is a little different. Does anybody want water?
I'm okay, thank you.
I got 3 water bottles. Here, do you want
water?
I
want water.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? I'd rather have 3.
Oh.
Yeah. No, I'm good. So it was a. Have they been challenged to breed? Because you were just telling me about
challenging to breed.
Yeah.
So sorry, let me turn this off. So the challenge is acquiring them here in Canada. Because most of them are wild caught. I could not tell you whether they're a challenge to breed or not, because actually Mr. Greg here was house sitting the dragons, and he got the eggs, and he was also the one to hatch them. So
you collected the eggs and brought them to your house?
I
had the dragons
at my house.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So I give more of the credit to Fadi. I was just a caretaker.
Yeah,
we're sharing the credit. We're sharing the credit.
Yeah.
No, but so I don't know if there's any actual like for example cooling them before breeding season, or increasing the rain the humidity at a certain time of the year. I don't know if they need any of those things. We are still playing with it. The eggs we got, I'd say, is more of a we got lucky kind of thing.
Sure.
But from what I've heard from past people that have bred them is generally the first 6 months are the hardest. After they've hatched is when they seem to be a little bit finicky.
And when did they hatch?
A week or 2 ago.
That's just random.
Straight, very fresh.
Yeah, they're very fresh.
And they're tiny.
So he sent me pictures as soon as they hatched, and I was like, oh, they're tiny. And then I got to his house, and I was like, oh wait, no, they're like tiny, like way smaller than you expect.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So are they back at your place now?
No, they're still. Well, they hatched 2 or 3 days before I left to come to Toronto for the Expo. So I was like, I can't keep them. You're staying in Ottawa for longer. So so they're with him, and then I am coming to pick them up as soon as this is over.
Oh yeah, right now they're with my wife. So
yeah, has she been having to look after them? No, they're okay.
Yeah, well, she's been feeding, like having to feed them and stuff. Yeah, so she was calling me last night. So
yeah.
They're adorable though.
That's cool. So what about horned mountain dragons? Like, what is there something about them that you find fascinating? Or
there's a number of things. First of all, the horns. Like, it's very prehistoric looking. I don't think like there's many there are many cool looking reptile species, but I don't think there's anything that looks quite like them.
Yeah.
It's almost like a dinosaur bird kind of thing, because if you look at them, they have these like the way their eyes move is very bird-like. But more than that, it's the paludarium aspect for me. So like I said, I've been keeping fish for a very long time. I love keeping fish. I love aquariums, and they're one of the few species, like I said, they're one of the species that I enjoy that you can do that with. You can have a paludarium, and they use the water.
Yes,
some of my males are constantly in the water all the time. They hunt from the water. Like, I can feed them with tongs, and they won't even come out. They'll just lift their head out of the water, eat, and go back down. Like, it's really cool to watch.
Yeah. Because I had seen on your channel you'd done you're doing a paludarium build. I don't think you've finished it, right?
Well, it's done, but it hasn't fully been released.
Come on, show us.
Yeah. It's
Greg did all that work for you drilling the glass.
Exactly. Oh no, he did all the work for everything, not just drilling the glass. Wait and see. It's mainly Greg. No, but I'm super excited to show you guys that build, and the dragons are actually in it right now, and they're loving it. The plants are finally starting to come in, so it's like starting to become like this foresty look. And
Yeah.
And dogs from the Pet Expo.
Yeah, that's been fun cleaning up all their pee.
Yeah.
We had some pee in here yesterday.
Did you actually?
Well, there was a puddle.
It was a puddle. We didn't lick it.
Was.
We didn't taste it to see, but I wouldn't be surprised.
It looked similar to pee.
Yeah.
Is there a large variety of behavior differences between the different species?
Not that I've seen.
What about appearance?
Appearance drastically different.
Okay.
Yeah. So I look them up. I guess I don't know how I can show you guys them here, but like a Bintengensis is all brown. They've got cool patterns on them, and then they have 4 horns. Whereas the Capras, which was the first ones that I got and the most common ones in the hobby, it's just 2 horns, and they're like more of a greeny, dark greeny black color almost. And then Lepidogasters are dwarfs, so they only get to about this big.
Oh wow!
Like with their tail.
With their tail.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Their bodies are
quite
like
small. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
That being about 2 inches or 1.5 inches to those.
And
Looking
the
at my
Talias are the
fingers,
super
wondering
gorgeous
what's going
ones.
on.
They're like, I don't know if you can. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And do you have any future things you want to dig into, or are you happy with what you're working on now?
Project-wise?
Yeah.
No. So I recently started working for the Expo, and it's been super overwhelming and a lot of work. So I'm more trying to decrease the number of species I have and sort of focus on the ones I have right now, just time-wise and yeah.
Well, because what I find amazing, we already talked about this, is how frequent expos are here.
Yes.
And the thing is like, I thought this was this is a huge expo, but I didn't realize like every reptile expo you guys do is essentially this.
Yes.
It's just without the addition of the aquatics
everything
and the
else.
pets.
Yeah. It's maybe a few less booths as well.
Yeah.
So there's quite a few vendors that
like
only do like Canadian Cold Blood that only do the CRBE.
You might not get like out of province as much.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it's still a huge show. So you're constant. This is like every month for you doing something.
It's crazy. Yeah. It's one weekend every month is like canceled out of my life for this.
That is wild. And so is it actually one a month?
It's
pretty much.
There's 3 months a year that I think 3 or 4 months.
There's 3 months,
a year that it doesn't happen. Yeah,
that's amazing.
And then there's some months that it happens twice. So November, for example, or October, we have the Ottawa Pet Expo, and then we have a Reptile Expo here. So that's 2 weekends. And then November, it's the Toronto Christmas Pet Show, and we have a regular Reptile Expo here.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's 2 shows a month. Yeah.
That's crazy. And you come to every one?
It's a lot of fun.
I come to most of them. I come to all the reptile
he's
ones
here for
typically.
all of them.
Yeah.
But it's fun. Like, and this is what I always say when I go to these shows. It's like interacting with people. It's just so fun. Especially when you're like us, where we don't have like, we're not trying to front a store or front a booth and having to sell. We can just go around and talk to people. Yeah, and it's so fun. And you get to just, especially for me, I'm in such an isolated spot. I don't have a lot of like reptile friends really close to me.
Right.
So you get to come and you're not the weird reptile guy. Like I don't like having reptile conversations with non-reptile people typically, because it's just like
they ask you the basic questions and you're kind of like I want to have like a more
my wife's always embarrassed to tell people what's downstairs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it's cool though, because once you start coming to all of them, you start to recognize the same faces over and over again. It becomes like you're saying, it's a community. It's a community.
It's a community.
Exactly.
It's great.
Yeah.
That's
it's
why
a really good one too.
Yeah. And there's and you know, there's lots of people who live in the northern United States that can easily pop up. It's not that far. Yeah.
If you're in the States and you're listening to this,
come on
next
down.
Expo, you guys got to come on.
Yeah, every once in a while. There's a few Buffalo. We get some Buffalo people.
Yeah, Buffalo, Michigan. Yeah. Awesome. Well, Fadi,
thank you guys very much.
Thank you for. Well, I could do this too.
We could do both.
Oh, then I want to do that too.
Are we doing a whole handshake now?
Oh, we can do that too.
Yeah. Thank you for
that's what you're doing.
putting this on, coming onto the show today, inviting me down, because it's been so fun, like I said. And I'll let you go back to fighting forest fires, and we'll see you around.
Definitely, I'll pass by once you guys. What time are you recording till?
Who knows?
Later.
Okay, cool. I'll pass by again and enjoy. And we got to get you on my podcast.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and you on mine too. And make sure you tell Charles to pop by at some point too.
I definitely will.
Okay,
awesome.
Cool.
All right, thank you guys
All
very
right,
much.
sounds good. See you,
Bye,
Fadi. All right, Robin, you're up. Cool. Come on down.
You lost your voice. Oh, it's back.
Can you? Yeah, I'm good. Welcome.
Hello.
So, Robin, I had to look yesterday. You're actually episode number 8 of this podcast.
Was it?
And I've recorded, I think, around 180 episodes now.
Okay, so like right at the very beginning.
You were one of the very beginning. And I have to say, like, to everybody who did those early episodes, like, thank you so much, because people were like, I got a lot of non-responses. And really, it was like the first 25 episodes made the show happen.
Yeah.
Because without that, you know, you need to get the ball rolling. And
well, even if you're only having a few viewers, it still benefits those few viewers that have it, right?
Exactly. So, yeah. And it's just, it's hard to get people onto a show that doesn't exist yet. So the people that just were like, yeah, sure, I'll come on. And you were one of them.
Yeah.
And so that's cool. Can you tell everybody your business, your name?
Well, it's definitely changed a lot since the last time I was here,
Yes.
like 8 years ago. So we used to just do like accessories and a lot of like little things for reptiles, but we moved into doing fully customized reptile enclosures. So a lot of stuff that you can't really find at a pet store. So something like if you have a tegu or an iguana, you can't really go into a pet store and find something that fits those.
Yes.
So we offer that service. And then I still do a lot of the education base for green iguanas.
Yeah, because kind of remind me of how did you rescue a green iguanas originally, or did you actually start with as a pet and then realize that?
Well, when I moved out to go to college, my parents never let me have reptiles when I was younger. So I got a green iguana from some random person like a month after I moved out, and she kind of just started a passion of it. And then I started doing like rescues, rehabilitation, and rehoming for them. I have 6 myself right now. Most of them are rescues, but I do a lot of like if someone comes to me and they need to find a home for theirs, I help them locate that home instead of bringing it to me and then finding the home.
Yeah,
that's great.
It's such a tough species, right? Like, have you kept one?
I did.
Oh, yeah, you did, right?
Yeah.
You were telling me.
I loved him.
Yeah.
I was young enough that I hit that point where I was having to get out on my own.
Yeah.
And I just didn't have the real estate.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to do it,
and that
can
be amazing.
That was a couple
pets.
of years back.
Yeah,
I'm hiding a lot of gray here, right? So that's when they were a lot more common on.
Yeah, it's almost nice to not see them as common in the pet stores now, because they sell them so cheap. It's an impulse pet almost,
totally. and they're so small and cute.
And they're big.
Mm-hmm. And you can buy like some monitor species that are small as iguanas when you first get them. But I think iguanas being a prey species, it really makes it difficult to tame them as they get a little bit older because they're so flighty.
Yeah.
And so you have 6. You have a few different species though.
Green iguanas mostly, and then I have one black spiny tail iguana. Okay. One of my green iguanas is a red morph. I have 2 blues and then 2 greens.
Okay.
Yeah.
We actually referenced you yesterday because we were talking about iguanas with somebody, I forget.
I think it was Matt from Mizdick Animals.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. We're talking about larger animals, and because we were talking about how a bite can be pretty significant. And I remember you had posted on Instagram before. Was it a bite on your arm? Or?
Yeah, I still have the scars from it. That one there and there.
Was that from a green iguana?
Yeah, my big male red one. He has been a turd ever since he hit his first breeding season. He's always been a bit of aggressive, and every time I get bit, I've got a few scars. But every time I tell people it's always been my fault, never the iguana's fault, because that's just their natural behavior. And I stuck my arm in to feed the female a banana. Meanwhile, he was in breeding season, and my arm was like right in front of him, and he bit me real quick, and that ended up in 13 stitches. So, and shouldn't have put my arm there. I mean, that's my own fault for doing that.
It is a catch.
Yeah, exactly.
You get complacent.
Mm-hmm. But making sure, like my social media platform, I've always posted the good and the bad of owning them. So I like sharing that photo because it makes people go, oh, I kind of want an iguana because that picture's really cute. And then they see that and they're like, maybe not a good idea.
Yes, Who do you think an iguana is right for?
Someone who definitely has reptile experience, and someone who has the financial and the space ability to have something like that. Like I have 6 iguanas, which is more than the most common person. But I spend probably $250 to $300 a month just on food.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and the collard greens, like I live in the middle of nowhere, so the grocery store has to order in my own special box of collard greens.
Oh, really?
So they can be expensive to feed, and then they require so much space because they need to climb. So not only the floor space, but the height as well. So.
And then the humidity.
Yes. Yeah.
You know?
How do you maintain humidity?
Right now, we actually set up an automatic mister system, and I wish I had done it so much earlier. Yeah.
All of us have been in the hobby for a while. Where that was the game changer.
Like, and then timers. If you had a bunch of reptiles and you didn't have timers on your lights, you have to. I have to go home because my reptiles lights are still on.
I still hear people say I turn them on manually on and off, and I just can't believe anybody does that.
Yeah, when you get to sleep in one day, but you can't because your reptiles need their lights turned on.
That's right. That's no good.
The one thing I would love to see is almost like a timer but a dimmer. So for the first few hours, it comes on and kind of almost simulates sunrise and sunset.
They have that on the fish side.
Do they?
Yeah.
Spoiled fish.
I know. I think it'll come.
So like the Fluval and stuff like that. They have LEDs that'll.
Oh, that's neat.
And you could even change the hues.
Yeah,
full control.
Oh, that's neat.
Everything.
Well, we're planning on. I want to move one more time. So the enclosures that I personally have, they're huge. Like I have a 6x4x8. I have 2 of them for my iguanas. But when we move one more time, I want to do more of like a zoo style exhibit where it's fully decked out with everything. So that's definitely something I would look into putting in.
Yeah, that's cool.
And you have a child as well, right?
I have 2.
Oh, you have 2. Okay.
Yes.
And so how careful do you have to be? Like little fingers pop off easy. like I see my son's little fingers, and I'm like, oh, an iguana would take a finger.
Well, some people who went to expos the last, like kind of before COVID hit, I used to always have Sassy with me, and she basically is a cat. My boyfriend kind of coined the term sandpaper kitty, and she was always good. She was a good showcase animal because people could get up and close and hold her and really see what they were. But I always told people that's not their normal behavior.
Right.
So out of the 6 iguanas that I have, Sassy's really the only one my kids interact with.
Okay.
And she's a little older now, like she's 17 and a half at least. So she's got some arthritis issues and stuff. So I'm starting to not have the kids interact as much with her, because even the dog, if a dog's sore and you pet them the wrong way, they can nip just out of pain, right?
Yeah.
So it's something you definitely have to be cautious about.
Yeah. And so you had mentioned obviously your business has changed a lot because you started with sort of the more rescue, but you're also doing the enclosure side. And I guess that came out of necessity. You had to build larger enclosures.
Yeah, so I was doing like every now and then I built like something really small when I lived back in London. But the last few years, basically, I had my black spiny tail. He was getting an upgrade that I was doing for him. And then the old enclosure I had for him, I posted it for sale, but 2 people wanted it. So the one person obviously got it, and the other person I was like, well, I can build you one, and it's kind of just spiraled from there.
Yeah.
So when I went on mat leave, when I had my first daughter, I actually didn't go back to work. I used to work as a PSW, so I didn't go back to work, and I've been doing full enclosures full time ever since.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
Is it you building them, or your boyfriend helps, or I'm sure he has a full-time job?
I wouldn't be doing it without him.
Yeah.
We have a massive delivery truck that we use, so we go out and we do multiple deliveries in one day. And he's a mechanic, so I would not own that truck if it wasn't for him.
Right.
So he's been a huge support, but I am the one building it. But he tags along to help with deliveries because I need those 2 sets.
Well, and they're huge enclosures.
Oh, yeah.
They're so maybe you could just tell people who haven't seen them what they look like and kind of the materials you're using.
So we use European 3/4-inch Baltic birch, and it's like it has 14 plies in it. If you know anything about plywood, so it's very dense and heavy. But we stain it, and it gets clear coat to finish everything off and seal it. We also can do like dry lock on the inside to give that extra barrier on the bottom. So a lot of people are switching to doing bioactive now.
Yeah.
But we do multiple different sizes. Most of the stuff we do is like at least 4 feet long, 2 feet deep, and then either 4 or 6 feet tall.
Yeah. And they're on casters.
Yes, which is a huge bonus. So even we've done one where it was casters just to move it and get it into the house, and then we took the casters off after because they didn't want it. But yeah, some of the bigger things, casters are definitely.
It's so key. I mean, I would leave them on because it just simplifies everything. Like you can't move an enclosure like that by yourself. It's so big and heavy.
And even like when we first started doing it, I was using a different type of wood that was just what I was able to get at the hardware store. And we have upgraded that so much. We used to use plexiglass at the beginning. I don't touch it at all anymore because of the scratching and the static in it. So I have a local guy who does all my custom glass cutting. So it's tempered glass. I usually use 6 millimeter thick.
Okay.
But for anything bigger, I have used 10 millimeter.
Okay. So did the using the glass make it quite a lot more expensive than the plexiglass?
Actually, because normally if you're going to order plexiglass, you have to go to your hardware center and they have it there, or you can order it.
And acrylic's not cheap.
It's not.
It's really not. And COVID's made it worse.
And I shopped around to a couple different places, and I found a local Mennonite guy, like a family run one.
Nice.
And the price that I pay for the tempered glass is about the same price as a plexiglass in the hardware store.
Okay, so there you go.
Yes. Yeah. Now the plywood has gone up in price significantly since COVID, but we're starting to see that come back down, which is really nice.
Because do you have to import that plywood in yourself, or is there a place you buy?
No, I buy it from someone who has imports it.
Okay, cool. And so, how does it work? Does somebody have an idea of what they want, or do you don't? I'm sure you don't have stock on, like, you don't want to store those things. So you build them. I have a few
that I bring to the expo, like random ones that I'll just build to showcase things. But what normally happens is one of two. So either someone comes to me and they're like, "This is exactly what I want," and I say, "Okay, cool," and then we build it. Or they say, this is the species I have, or multiple species. What can I get for them? And then we work together to design whatever works for them. Yeah,
that's cool. And so if somebody was interested in one, they go to your website?
You can see a lot of my old builds on my website, but the easiest way to get a hold of me is through Instagram.
Okay.
And then all of our conversations are nice in one spot, so we can refer back and look at everything. But I post photos of not just finished products, of like the build process, so everyone gets to see the whole process of what goes into it.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's awesome.
Before we let you go, I really want to talk about these too, because this is another really cool product or product. I mean, it's just really cool. So you have 2 books here. Let's start with the coloring book.
So I wanted to do a kids educational coloring book, and originally I was just going to have like a bearded dragon, for example. So a picture you could color of a bearded dragon with like 2 sentences on the bottom of some fun facts. And then it got into a thing where now there's a whole page that you can color that has a male, a female, and a baby. So sometimes, depending on the species, you can see the differences in
that's
them.
Cool.
And then there's a whole page that goes along with it with where the reptile is from, some cool facts, and then a picture of a live animal. So some kids like to color more realistically, so you have a sense of what it looks like.
Yeah. Can we show that to the camera? Yeah. Greg, do you want to hold that up there?
Do I?
Oh, yeah, look at that green iguana picture.
And the fun part about it was when I was doing the photo, like when I was making the book, I had people submit photos of their personal reptiles. So I used those as models for some of the species in there.
Yeah,
so it wasn't all just like random Google images.
You did all the line work off a base photo. So it's someone's actual animals in there.
Like that's someone lives somewhere. That's their reptile that's in there.
That's
so
super cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, I love that. And so tell us what this one.
I love this.
Yeah.
The children's book?
Yeah, I saw it over at someone's table there. Got it. I was like.
So I have the iguanas that are in this book are my personal iguanas. And basically it started, I came home from work the one day and my male iguana, my red one, he had this long, beautiful tail that was not common in a full-grown iguana these days. And I came home from work and it was broken half, but still kind of attached. So I'm not sure what he did during the day that broke it. So he ended up losing half of his tail. And later on, I ended up writing a story about it where he loses his long, beautiful tail and he's kind of sad. He doesn't think his friends are going to like him anymore. And he meets a white tiger who's different and says that it's basically okay. And he goes back to his friends and they still love him. And it's like this cute little kid story about being different is okay.
Yeah, I'm going to pick one of those up before I leave today. Oh, actually, I'll probably take both because my son eventually.
The educational coloring book has been a really huge hit. And I like it because it really promotes an interest in kids so they can see lizards that maybe they didn't know anything about. Like when I grew up, I used to be the kid that go to the library and rent the book of all the different dog species and just or breeds and just learn about everything, right? Yeah. So that's kind of what this caters towards for reptiles.
I love that. And I feel like there's not enough books in the world. You know, everything's moving to online. It's all this stuff, like AI images. Like this is so cool. You know?
And this hopefully is the first in like a series. So right now, it's not really the reptile community, but I'm working on a chicken one that has a whole bunch of different chicken breeds. And then I want to do a snake one after that. Cool. So like you can do arachnids, you could do turtles. Like there's so many different variations of this book that I could do. Just takes a bit because I'm doing all the line work myself. So
did you have to write all the descriptions too?
Yes. So I went through and then had everything proofread and kind of just had the layout design, and then it was kind of just filling in the blanks of random facts. So each page, it's not the same fact for each, like where they live.
Right.
So I have kind of some unique facts about them.
The ones you found most interesting.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
A lot of people who watch this are in the States.
Okay.
Is there a way that they can get these?
Yes. I have these on my website, so they can be ordered and shipped because they're pretty small.
Is that Ontario Iguana?
Yes, OntarioIguanas.com.
Okay, Ontario Iguanas.
And then each year I do a calendar event. I've done it for, I think it's almost year 8 that I've been doing this. So right now is like the photo entering part. So people email me the photos. All the information's on my Instagram account. But you email photos. I design it in a calendar. And you get your Instagram name posted with it. And then everyone who enters photos purchases a calendar. It gets printed and shipped out. So every year people enter this, and then for 2024, you have a calendar that you have a reptile in and everybody else. So it's like a little community thing that people
enjoy. That.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, that's super cool. Mm-hmm. Awesome. So people can find that information on Instagram, Ontario Iguanas, and they can submit their pictures. Now, when does that close?
Middle of October. So there's like about a month-long stretch where people submit photos, and then a 2-week period where I input everything into like a layout for the calendar. And then people have like a pre-order period.
And so you only pick 12, I guess.
No, it's like a collage of photos. So normally
cool.
people submit 2 or 3 photos, and then I put them in. So as long as there's no people or hands or anything, it's just the reptiles. But it's really cool. I'll get somebody posting on Instagram, and in the background you can see the calendar from the year before. It's a cute little thing that keeps everybody in like a little community, and it has U.S. and Canadian holidays printed.
Cool.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Well, Robin, this was fantastic. Every little project you're doing is just so cool. Like, I mean, I love the iguana stuff. The enclosure stuff is always needed. It's just such a key part. But this is like really cool. I love that. So it's Ontario Iguanas with an S.com or on Instagram, easy to find.
Yep, Ontario_iguanas.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. This is awesome, and thanks for being another guest again on the podcast. And you helped get the ball rolling in this. This is fantastic.
Yeah, well, it's awesome doing it here versus doing it on Zoom.
We did it on Zoom. We do it in person.
Phone.
Yeah, that's right.
This is awesome.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We'll let you get back to your booth. We'll come see you. I'm going to come see you to grab a couple of books from you later.
Yeah. Okay,
and
you guys have a good day.
All right.
Thanks,
bye-bye.
you too.
Thanks, Robin.
Bye-bye.
I'm taking this.
Yeah, please do. That's cool.
Yeah, it was very cool.
Are you going to get a coloring book?
I am definitely going to get a coloring book.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
awesome.
my daughter will go crazy over it.
Yeah, my son will destroy it. But
yeah, that's the point, right?
I might have to save it. Do you want to?
I'm going to go steal Brandon.
Yeah, you can get Brandon. I'll talk to these guys for a little bit, and we'll get him going.
Cool. Yeah, I forgot to run off and do that.
No, it's all good. So, Cole, to answer your question, yes, those are available online. Let me throw her website in the chat here. Does that work? Let me see. I will throw it in the chat. Oh, thank you very much, Brad. I really appreciate that. It worked today. Everybody go follow Brad. He's got the craziest DIY projects. I'm sure you already do if you listened to the episode with him. So I don't know if you guys can click on that link. I'm not sure how that works. But anyway, OntarioIguanas.com. You can head there, and it looks like she's got a little bit of info about her enclosures and whatnot, but also those books, which are really, really cool. So next up, we're going to talk to Brandon, who is the owner of Canadian Cold Blood. So this will interest Brad, who has the blue tree monitor, but one of the world-renowned tree monitor breeders, and a really nice guy. So I'm looking forward to that. Craig's going to go get him. So we'll just have to kill a couple of minutes while we wait for that. Hopefully everybody's having a good Sunday so far. Do you want to say hi to everybody? We're live, yeah. I'm just waiting for Brandon's. Greg's going to get Brandon.
I'm just giving you your stuff back. Okay. Just being a nice guy.
This is Nick Bertrand.
Bonjour.
We will see him later today. He's going to come on. If anyone's, you probably saw his episode already, but we will definitely be chatting.
I will bring blinking lizards.
You'll bring blinking lizards. So if anyone wants to know what that means, you'll find out stay tuned. All right, we'll see you in a little bit.
Yep.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Okay, guys, right now, next couple of minutes, the aquatic stage, the king of DIY, Joey Willen and Chris Biggs, the man aquariums, will be doing their aquascape showdown. It's going to be a lot of fun, something we definitely recommend. You can see, don't miss.
Oh, thank you very much, Kiki. I really appreciate that. I'm glad you guys are enjoying it because I'll wait for Fadi's announcement here.
Make sure you don't miss out and over to the aquatic stage. Thank you.
They're doing a escape off on the aquarium side between DIY. Oh, is this?
Well, Brandon is taking a few minutes to get here. I found.
This is Natalie.
Hi, guys.
Nice to meet you
Nice
officially.
to meet you
I'm
too.
Dylan.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show.
Nat Attacks.
So Natalie, welcome to the podcast. Did he force you to do this?
Yes, actually grabbed my hand and ran me over here with, I had no choice.
Are you helping with Mark over there?
I am, yes. Yep.
Is the day going so far so good?
It's really good, yeah. It's quite busy. It's getting a lot busier now that the day is going on. It's now 12:20.
Yeah, we were saying it started quiet, and then all of a sudden, boom, people just showed up.
Yeah.
So tell us about because you have some interesting projects. You must be one of the few people working with the particular species of, it's toads, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the Atelopus.
Atelopus. Okay. Tell us about them.
Okay, so I have the purple harlequin toads, the Atelopus barbatonii or barbatini. There are two ways to pronounce it. No one really knows because scientific names, right on? So I'm working with them. I bred them last year in December. And the babies that are actually here at Understory Reptiles, or Understory Enterprise, they are 6 to 7 months out of the water. And they're very tiny still. They're only about
I don't even think I've seen those yet. Did you go look at those
yet?
I
they're
didn't
just
see them
right
either.
over there.
Okay,
yeah.
after this, we'll go look at them.
And I brought the adults here too to show people, how big they do get. Because,
Do they get quite large, or?
Yeah, they get to a pretty good size. About like this.
And they're
they're lanky.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, they're very good climbers.
Yeah, well, they look almost more like a dart frog when you look at them, just like the length of
They have
limbs.
very similar care to dart frogs.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
And they look sort of like almost fake in a way because like these very like deep purple lines.
AI generated.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. Yeah. So how did you get into them?
I've actually always been pretty interested in them just because of their, the way that they look, the purple.
Yeah.
It's going to catch your attention.
Totally.
And I've always really loved the care behind dart frogs. So when I heard that they were very similar to dart frogs, I was like, okay, I'm getting in on this.
Yeah.
So when they came available here in Canada from Nick Stacy, who was the original breeder.
Is that indicator species on?
Yeah, indicator species.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shout out to him. I follow him on Instagram.
Love him.
Yeah.
Nick, you're the best. God bless you.
So that's where your animals came from originally.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So my pair that I have are Nick Stacy's.
Okay.
So I got a hold of them actually at Tails and Scales through Nelson, and they were confirmed male and female. So I kind of knew what I was into, but I didn't know how hard it would be to actually breed them and be successful with the tadpoles.
Yeah.
It was a journey.
So how long have you been attempting?
How long have I been attempting?
Attempting to get frogs, on land. Like, have you failed a couple breeding cycles? Or
No.
Oh, so how hard could it have been? You did it the first shot.
Well, to be honest, it was the water quality, which was the hardest part.
Okay.
I was doing water changes every week, about 25 to 50% water changes, depending on how dirty it was. I was also doing around 2 to 3 water tests a week.
Okay.
Yes. So if you have a lot of experience with like aquarium, saltwater tanks, you'll do fine.
Yes. Yeah. So
Yeah.
for us reptile people that just set it and forget it, it's not going to work out.
Yeah, there's a lot of science to it.
Change it when there's poo in it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
How come my tadpoles are floating? So do you keep anything else as well?
Yes,
Okay.
I keep the waxy monkey tree frogs.
Okay.
So I have the 2 species. There's the Phylomedusa savaki and the Phylomedusa bicolor.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool. No reptiles, just amphibians?
1 reptile, Tank. He is our leopard tortoise. He is 12 years old.
Okay. Cool.
Yes.
It's pretty cool. So you must be one of the first in the country that's reproduced them, or the
Yes.
first? Yeah, that's cool.
Yep.
You're like the second in North
Second
America.
in the world.
Or in the world.
What? You should open with
That's
that.
why I dragged her over.
Yeah, I know. I didn't realize that.
You really did. He literally took my hand and ran with me. I was like, okay, cool. All right.
Wow, second in the world.
Yeah.
'Cause I knew that what Nick was doing was pretty rare, but I didn't realize that he was
He was the first in the world to ever do it successfully.
okay.
Yeah.
So what were
He's a god.
Was it just the water quality challenge? Is that the main thing?
It was, but also the feeding of the tadpoles.
Okay.
Because the tadpoles, they don't feed off the surface of the water because they're so small. So they actually really have a hard time breaking the surface tension of the water.
That's amazing.
So what you have to do in order to feed them is you need to create a paste and paint it on the rocks so that they can rasp on the rocks.
Wow.
Oh, that's cool.
So making the food was a process, letting it dry to make sure that when you put it in the water and it doesn't just dissolve, that was really difficult.
So did Nick tell you like this is how you got to
Yeah.
make it? Imagine how many recipes he's gone through with that.
Yes.
Like, that sounds like a nightmare.
Nick was he was very helpful.
So what is it? Like what is the paste made out of?
We use
And that's
the
$1,000.
spirulina.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty.
You don't
We're
have to
getting
give
right
all.
into it.
You don't have to give all your trade secrets. I'm just curious. Yeah.
So spirulina
Okay.
and Missouri tortoise diet.
Oh, okay.
So you grind that up into an extremely fine powder, almost like calcium powder.
Yeah.
And then
Wow.
you add RO to it, and you make it
it
into a paste and paint the rocks.
And how long does that process take? Like, how long does it take the tadpoles to jump out?
How long does it take for?
Like, how long are you feeding the tadpoles to the point where?
Until they morph.
Yeah. Like, will they ever get big
Oh.
enough to feed off the surface, or are you doing that until they?
Until they
morph?
emerge.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
And so, how long is that?
It was December, January, February, March. It was about 4 to 5 months.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It was a lot of labor, and that's why the price of the toads reflects on the labor.
Yeah. Can you
Big
tell us
time.
the price?
No.
Pardon?
What's the price?
For the babies right now, I'm selling them for $300 each.
Oh, that's not bad.
No, it's really not.
Yeah.
And
I was
they're-
expecting 1,000.
Yeah. Well, 1,000 for a pair.
Okay.
So established, already sexed,
Yeah.
$1,000, as it should be. But as babies, they're very small. People are very intimidated by the size.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
300 each. But they're very hardy toads, and a lot of people they don't really know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
They look at something very small and they think, "Wow, there's no way I can keep that alive." They're
But-
very hardy.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
And they're just so unique.
They're
and
bizarre looking.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
Like it's worth the journey, I think.
Were
you
they
know?
native too?
For the French Guiana.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yes.
It reminds me. I did an episode with folks who are doing like captive hermit crab breeding, and so the people listening will be familiar with this episode. And it's like one more level on top of that, like doing
Oh.
crazy, like 100% water changes, but the babies are like microscopic, and you're taking
Oh,
them
yeah.
out one at a time to do to
Really?
feed. It's insane. Like I couldn't even believe what I was hearing, but that's literally almost like the same labor intensity.
They
Yeah.
were microscopic.
Yeah.
When they emerge from the water, they're tiny. They're smaller than your pinky nail.
And then what are you feeding the froglets once they hop out?
Springtails.
Oh, springtails. Okay.
So
Damn.
baby springtails to begin, and then adult springtails as they get more established. Some of them are starting to eat the melanogaster fruit flies.
That is crazy.
Yeah. Yes. So
I
I
don't-
have about 180 springtail cultures at home.
With different sizes.
Yeah.
That's
That's
incredible.
crazy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried doing? Sorry, I'm going on a tangent now.
No, please.
I was really doing a lot of experimentation when I was doing a lot of frog stuff, where I was doing like calcium clays, making my own calcium
Yes,
clays,
yes.
and
I-
kind of trying to up the
I,
nutrition of the
yep.
springtails.
I've done that a few times with the calcium clay.
I was kind of hit and miss with it.
Yes.
I had really inconsistent, but then like Josh's frogs.
Yeah.
He has a really good thing. And
Tails and Scales. Nelson, he
Yeah,
sells
he has got
some
the clay,
calcium clay.
yeah.
okay, because I think Understory was doing it
They did.
for at least for a while. They were, and I was blown away at how long.
Yeah.
It lasted forever, but yeah, because that would be a cool way of kind of making sure the calcium's good
Absolutely.
and all that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I actually offer the calcium clay in the vivarium with the toadlets.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah. And they always use it.
And they
Really?
sit
yeah,
on it.
They always
yeah.
sit in it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So moving forward, you're just going to continue focusing on this species and growing the captive population here?
As of right now, I'm focusing on these species. My next thing will be the Phylomedusa selvagi.
Okay.
So I don't know if you guys are familiar with Carlos. He's let me show you.
Let's see Carlos.
Carlos
I want to
is-
say yes, but I'm not sure.
Carlos
so.
is very, very special to me. He is actually this species is what really got me into frogs.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Here,
yes,
can you
yes.
hold that up to the camera so folks can see? Even
I
Greg,
don't
you
know if
might.
you guys can see. Yeah.
There we go.
You can see that. Can you plug your Instagram quick? The handle.
It's Natattax.
Nat.
So Nattattacks.
Okay, so if folks want to see that picture, they can go there.
So
Similar to
Carlos-
Mississippi.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah.
very similar to Mississippi.
Yeah.
So I'm working on getting some females for Carlos. So that will probably be within the next 2 years. That will be a project.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's
That'll be
cool.
a Canada first as well if it's successful.
That's amazing. You're incredible. Well, that was awesome.
you.
I'm glad that Greg yanked you over here because
Yeah,
I
me
wanted
too.
to talk to you anyway. So we'll
Thank you, Greg.
we'll come look at your frogs later. And for anyone watching, they can go to your Instagram page to see the frogs and or
Sounds
the
good.
toads, I should say.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
It's Nat's Attacks. No S. Nat Attacks.
Nat Attacks.
Nat Attacks. Okay, awesome.
All right, you guys.
Perfect.
Yeah, we'll come visit you in a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, thank
Take
you.
care, alright?
Bye-bye.
Yeah, it's good
Thanks,
to see you.
Greg. Yeah, that was good. That was good. Good on.
All right, I saw Brandon wandering.
Is it wandering?
He did wander by. He was right here.
Oh, yeah, he messaged me.
He'll be back.
Oh. He was like, message me when you want me to come over.
Yeah, come over now.
I'm like, oh, dang.
Well, I'll just quickly finish the story I was telling before Natalie came over. But I was just telling to the listeners, thank you so much for listening, because obviously you all know that I don't record my shows live. So this is a lot of learning, and doing this in this environment. It's loud, it's kind of bustling, is different for me, and it's been going well. So I'm glad that you guys are enjoying it. People are liking the sort of the mixture of topics, which is really cool. And then I was also saying Fadi was doing a big announcement over the thing, and I was just saying they're doing an aquarium, or that's the escaping contest with Joey from King of DIY and Chris Biggs. So it's a championship final.
I think they were just
Yeah.
not much of a final of anything.
Yeah, who knows how it is.
I think both of them admit that they're not aquascapers.
Yeah,
so
exactly,
I'm not sure what it's going to be. I'm
Yeah.
kind of curious,
Who knows?
but maybe if we're lucky, we'll get to post pictures later.
We'll go see what they ended up with. I mean, you see like actual aquascapers, and it's like, what the hell is that? It's amazing.
Yeah. It's funny because Joey disappeared. He never gave me my drink.
Who did? Oh, you ordered a drink and you just got a bottle of water. So today's stream might be even a little bit longer. So thank you guys for hanging in there. We have a couple more people I definitely want to chat with. We're going to bring Ashley on from Northern Lights Imports, and we're going to talk about her Repti Bites. For those that aren't familiar with her Repti Bites, it's similar to like, what's the American product called? This Repti Lynx. I think that's the brand in the States. So hers is similar. So Ashley Dezan works with a lot of European species or Asian species, just I should say obscure species. So a lot of different, not just rodent feeders. So we need to kind of come up with solutions for these amphibian eaters and fish eaters. So she's created this really cool product. It's basically just almost like like prepackaged meals that have this diversity built into them. Hey, James. And so it's super cool. Oh, you got a pizza too?
You want a piece?
No.
You guys don't want to watch them eat?
Yeah, that's a different type of channel.
I'll lean back when I take a bite.
Yeah. We don't want to hear you eating the pizza.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the mic.
Yeah. Here comes Brandon right now. So you got that giant ice cap, hey?
Oh, yeah, I know it's huge, yeah.
Is that enough sugar?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. We'll find out.
Brandon.
It's the man, the myth, the legend.
What's going on, fellas?
Welcome.
Thank you.
Oh, I just almost took with the mic.
Oh.
So you might have Greg and I are plugged in so we can hear each other, but
Okay.
it's kind of loud in here. So
But we don't want to hear you. So
Apparently.
how is the show going so far?
It's good. It's a good show.
Yeah, it got a lot busier. Hey, I mean,
this
Yeah,
morning was,
it's busy for a Sunday on a show.
yeah.
this morning
It's,
was very slow.
Yeah.
Can you quickly tell everybody your name and the business?
Yeah, my name's Brandon Van Asten, and I run Canadian Cold Blood. Predominantly known for monitor lizards. More recently in monitor lizards, tree monitors. That seems to be what I'm building a name for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how are you building that name? Like, because you are well known. People often say you're one of the best top breeders in the world
yeah.
for tree monitors. So how did you get to that point?
I don't know. I just think I figured some stuff out, and it just travels, right? I'm not very good at social media, so
yeah. That's what's cool about it.
I'll post some things on like some groups, and this is breeding, that's breeding, and yeah, I guess people have. It's an interesting species that a lot of people look at. A group, a genus. Sorry,
yeah.
A lot of people look at and our monitors are awesome. A lot of people but they are maybe intimidated by them, and they follow these groups and they see me, and yeah.
Well, I imagine too. Like, I think one of the problems in our community is people don't stick with a project long enough, and it seems like how long have you been working with monitors?
Oh God. I think I got my first Ackies in like 1998.
Okay, so
and I was only 8 years old. No.
We're the same age.
1998.
That was the funniest joke there.
So monitors for a long time, right? Like 25, 26 years.
Yeah.
And you know what, every monitor species, with the exception of some of the Odatria that just didn't do it for me, like Storrs monitors and a couple of those ones, I breed to this day. You know, like the Kimberleys, Pilbaras, Ackies, you know, they're, I never lost interest in those projects. So.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about this earlier. Like I'm a snake guy, and partly it's because I'm almost intimidated to keep a monitor because of how intense of an animal it is, like how much interaction I feel like it would need. And he was saying, like, if you got one, it's like your dog in a way. Like they're so inquisitive, and it's not like a nuisance to have to interact with because they're just such amazing creatures. But is that what really draws you to them?
Well, yeah. I mean, a couple of things. They're extremely smart. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, in terms of reptiles, monitor lizards are at a whole other level. I mean, in terms of intelligence, they problem solve, right? They, they will actively dig and search out insects. And I mean, they're escape artists too, right? Like they problem solve, man. And it seems like the Indonesian species are even like a step above. I mean, you're talking some pretty intelligent animals.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's what makes them hard to breed.
Yes.
Because if you don't accommodate what they need, or they're bored, or they're not happy, then they're not going to do what you want them to do, right? So yeah.
So when you first started work, so you're working with Ackies and maybe some of the more common species. When did you start folding the tree monitors in, and what was that like? Like, was it you're bringing them in and you're just like, I'm going to hopefully try to breed it, and then problem solve?
Okay, so it's interesting because Kimberley rock monitors back, throughout the early 2000s and stuff, notoriously, like the rock monitor, Pilbaras and Kimberleys, notoriously hard to breed for a lot of people. And the big problem was getting eggs to hatch.
Okay.
And, incubation was all wrong with them. And I'm not going to mention names, but there was a well-known guy, and he had a pair of blue tree monitors. And I would talk to him all the time about Kimberleys, because he had Kimberleys as well, and he couldn't hatch either egg. They would always die full term in incubation. And I knew what the problem was. Some people just can't wrap their head around what I was saying in terms of being drier rather than wetter for eggs, right? It's hard to imagine.
So you think it was a climate thing?
Oh, it was all humidity inside the incubator. Anyways, so, and I looked at that, and I was like, well, he can't hatch Kimberleys. He also can't hatch blue trees. He's having the same problems both. Well, I'm hatching lots of Kimberleys. I'm sure I can hatch blue trees. And that was it. I kind of prompted that guy. I was like, I wanted to buy his blue tree breeders because they were producing and they were compatible, whatever that means, right? But they were producing, and I was like, okay, well, this is a well acclimated pair. And he didn't give them up, but it ended up that I was able to get a male that was local here from actually Port Credit Pet Center. Well, Grant, he had some there, and so I got a male from him, and there was this female blue tree at a PJ's Pet Center near where I live, and it'd been there I swear to God, and it'd been there for 2-3 years. And they bought it as a little thing, and I just happened to be at a show, and I never go in PJs where whatever, right? No offense to PJs, I just wasn't.
You're not going in there for tree monitors,
right? And he comes up to me at a show, and he's like, we got a blue tree monitor at the store, and I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, it's a female blue tree, and I'm thinking, yeah, if it's a blue tree, it's not what are the chances?
Yeah.
Well, sure as hell, it was a female blue tree that they've raised in the store since a hatchling, and like a little imported baby. And so and they had a crazy sticker price on it. So I just said, hey, I'll trade you a bunch of like lesser valued animals that you could easily sell in the store for the blue tree. Worked out a deal. I got that thing, and yeah, it was game on. As soon as I got that, it laid 2 dud eggs right away, and I was like, because they had told me it had laid a couple eggs before. So for me, it laid 2 dud eggs. I thought it was a bit small, but when it laid for me, I was like, well, she's producing.
Yeah.
I'll put some weight back on her and put her with the male. And yeah, after that, 5 good eggs right away, hatched them all. Wow. Just like I would incubate Kimberleys. It was perfect.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and then that was like, oh, yeah, these are beautiful. That was like kind of a criticism of mine in the monitor community. People were like, oh, anybody can, you can breed Odatria and stuff, but you'd never be able to breed the tree monitors, right? That was what they said. And so I was kind of like, wanted to be like, yeah, I can.
Yeah.
It was kind of like that, right? They're no different, really.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can hatch a Kimberley egg, you can hatch anything, I would imagine.
So is it that the dryness makes the shell too tough for the animal's tooth, or what do you think?
No, it's in incubation. It's I always incubate probably drier than what most people would.
Oh, okay.
Because with Kimberleys, that's the problem. If they're too wet,
oh, okay, gotcha.
The egg swells, and there's, I don't know if it's over excessive pressure inside of the egg. They cannot hatch. And they have some deformities. There's subtle deformities when the eggs are overhydrated, but they have some subtle deformities that you can tell. Like if you were to pull a baby Kimberley out of the egg after it had passed away in there, you can look at it and be like, yeah, that egg was too wet, right?
Okay.
They get some facial deformities, like they get a little domed skull on them, which I don't know if it has to do with pressure inside the egg. And people used to complain about, I opened up my incubation container and the egg just burst open, right? Yeah. Well, it's because the pressure inside, and then they're pulling it out of an 85-degree incubator into maybe a 75-degree room, and that temperature change it pops them, right? So that's it. People just keep them too wet, like the egg's too wet.
Yeah, you can tell you have experience when you can look at a dead, fetus and tell that the condition was like it's too wet in the incubator.
Well, because everybody's done it, right? I the first clutch of Kimberley eggs, same thing happened to me.
Yeah.
Right, and it happens sporadically because humidity in your incubator varies depending on the amount of eggs you have in there and time of year. Where I live, very dry in the winter, really humid in summer. So you see enough of them and you start to notice trends, right? So I always record that information like that. That doesn't look right, and for this reason. So now I put the pieces of the puzzle together and I know exactly what I'm looking at, right?
Yeah.
And you reference making notes, and I think that's a big thing. People's arrogance kind of steps in and doesn't let them take notes. They're like, "Oh, I know what I'm doing."
There's a lot.
And it's that tracking. And when I chat with you, I'm always impressed about that kind of reference.
I take notes to like every day. I'm in there, and like I have Post-it notes. I probably have 4 or 5 Post-it notes on every enclosure that I have because I'm like, there's this one's building, this one's doing this. Like, I'm always. It's not super formal, but Post-its, and then the real eventful things I'll write down, right? I'm a trained zoologist, let's put it that way, right? That's what I went to school for, so I'm good in the lab setting, let's put it that way.
Yeah. So, would you ever write a book?
Yeah. My plans have been to, I actually am going to take half a year off work this year.
Because you're a teacher.
I'm a teacher, yeah. So my plan was last year to do the same thing. I submitted for a half year leave of absence. I ended up not taking it. Few things, investment opportunities came up. So you know how that goes. But this year I did the same thing. So, and in the off time was to write a book and redo my website because like I said, I'm not a social media guy, so it's antique, right? But redo the website and then just maybe focus more on those projects, right? Like business wise, I mean, it's more like in terms of money. Let's say it's much more beneficial for me to do that for reptiles than it is teaching, right? Yeah, teachers in Canada make great money, but still, it can be. The monitors can be quite lucrative if you're doing them right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right. So,
although you must be one of the coolest science teachers. It's science. I'm assuming.
Yeah, biology. Yeah, high school biology. Yeah,
that's pretty cool. I'm sure your kids love that.
They love it. I have every semester I have what the kids call Snake Day, right? So kids coming into high school like, when's Snake? Always, right? They always hear about it. It filters through. So they come to my school. And it's funny because it's called Snake Day. And I only bring one damn snake in now, right? And it's one ball python that they can just handle, right? That I've had for years. And the rest are all these crazy cool lizards, right? Yeah. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
So was the blue trees the first tree monitors and then you branched up? And maybe you could quickly just describe, you said it's a subgenus, or as far as the tree monitors go, they're separate species, but they're kind of on an umbrella.
Yeah, it's just a genus, right? Varanus just means monitor lizard.
Yeah.
So,
but the tree monitors themselves are kind of, do they have a subgenus? I thought they were like a subgenus or a group of.
No, they're classified as like their individual species. But like, I mean, evolutionarily speaking,
they're so close.
They're so recent, right? Yeah. Like they're so recently separated from one another. I mean, they're identical size. They can interbreed with one another, probably. Like, I don't do that, but you know, you could mix any color, I'm sure. I know it's been done in the past with some of them. So they're extremely similar, because their evolutionary pathway has just changed in recent history with rising sea levels in Indonesia.
Right.
So that's what separated them off from the rest of the population.
And it's just fascinating that each of those little localities developed such a different color. I mean, you have blue, yellow, green,
and that's
black.
the crazy thing, right? It's like whatever on those islands directed that pathway is really interesting. Because, like, for me, a blue tree is like, what the hell?
I mean, the little one you have there is like, it just stands out like a sore thumb.
Right. It's like you'd think, but you know, predation on the island might be different than other, you know, mainland Indo or whatever. Who knows?
Yeah.
So,
right.
So would you think that, you know, the blacks would actually be potentially from a cooler area?
So
like, do you find that they'd be a hardier species in that sense for temperatures, or have you ever poked and prodded in that, right?
Yeah, well, you know what? Black trees, I would, in my opinion, have been the hardest to produce out of the most available four, like blues, yellows, greens, and blacks. Blacks are probably the hardest to produce, and it's because, you know, you build your setups for, and your shop setting and all this for all the other colors, and it's catered just to them. And you know, some of the things I noticed about black trees lead me to believe that they are colder. One of them is they're black. So usually when you get a black reptile, they're from a slightly colder environment, so they can absorb the heat. But the other thing is when the lights come on in the morning, right? So when the lights come on, those black trees are out basking, right? Like within a minute. It's crazy. They know, and they're out. Whereas all the other colors, they filter out a half hour, 45 minutes. So it tells me that their response is to absorb as much heat energy as possible when they can.
Yeah.
So that's that. I've asked a couple, you know, people in Indonesia that I've communicated with, and like, what's the deal with black trees? Like, are they, you know, let's say distributors of, you know, exporters? Where are you guys collecting these things from, right? Like, they're from Aru Island, but are they high elevation? What's it like? And I haven't been able to, you know, get much good info from them. They're like, oh, it's just like anything else, but something. So my plan with the blacks,
have to hop a military fence to get there, so we can't talk about it.
Right. But like, part of the plan for me, I was actually going to move the black tree enclosures to the basement of my shop. I have a 2-level shop, and it's cooler down there, just to see if it did anything for breeding. So, you know, part of it was I was keeping them too hot to begin with as well, like all of them, and, you know, switched a few things around.
So when you say they're harder to breed, is it egg failure? Is it just not actually pairing well?
Just not actually like cycling properly, right? So, you know, and that seems to be somewhat different per individual of the black trees, but across the 4 pairs that I have, it's like I have one pair that breeds regularly, another pair that, you know, breeds regularly, and I don't get a ton of fertile eggs from that one. And then I've had one pair that didn't do anything. So when I made some subtle changes, I saw a lot more breeding activities. So I'm going to go down that wormhole with them a little bit more. Yeah.
Now, would you ever go visit Indonesia?
Oh, yeah. I mean, eventually I would. I'd love to, right?
I can't imagine like how much more data you could extract.
Oh, well, that's the thing. You need to see it and breathe it in person to really grasp it, right? And
that could be part of your book. That'll be your pitch to your wife.
Yeah. Well,
research.
Man, you know, the problem is life just gets in the way, right? You get 2 kids, and you know, one's just turned 13, the other one's 11. You got so much going on with them. To go to Indonesia, you'd need to dedicate 2 months to like travel and
go to every spot. So you want to do it right.
It might be more of a retirement thing, or drag the kids there when they're a bit older.
Yeah,
I don't know, you know. Yeah. Plus, in some of the places in Indo, there's a lot of instability and civil unrest.
Oh, it's a huge.
So it's you know, you don't want to. Like, I don't mind going, but I don't want to bring my family to some of those places, right? Like West Papua. And
it's like Civil War all the time.
Right. So I've heard some horror stories. But
Yeah, that's amazing. So obviously the tree monitors that come with a high price tag, they're a really neat animal. They're rare, but you also work with things that are more reasonable for like the newer keeper as far as like getting into monitors.
Yeah, like Ackies.
Yeah.
You know? Sure.
Is that what you have, like, as far as like a recommendation for someone jumping into the monitor world? Would you say Ackies?
Yeah, they're the starter monitor, if you would, right? They're forgiving, so you can make mistakes with them, and they'll be fine.
Yeah,
really, right? I mean, all monitors are pretty tough as long as you meet some like basic requirements. Most of it's social behavior, honestly.
Yeah,
that's the big problem, right?
Not giving them enough.
Well, it's not even social like interaction or stimulation. It's like it's social behavior within pairings or groups.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and there's a lot of subtle things that most people just don't recognize that will make or break the health and wellness and breeding potential of your monitors, right? Like you'd be surprised. I mean, there's a whole bunch of myths out there about monitor lizards, right? Like back when I started with Ackies, there were, the big myth, and I'm not sure if it was intentionally set out there by the primary Ackie breeders in the U.S. at the time, but it's like, well, if you buy 3, one turns out to be male, and the other 2 are females, right? And there was nothing further from the truth. It's like you get an alpha male that displays male secondary sex characteristics, and then you could have 2 other males in there, but because they're both betas, they don't develop fully like a male, and people think they have 2 girls.
That's interesting.
Like I've picked up so many nice male monitors that people think are females because of that situation, that belief. So, but it'd be somebody trying to breed Ackies and they have 3 males in an enclosure. Well, that's not going to work, right?
That's fascinating. I didn't know any of that.
Oh yeah, it's cool. Crazy.
Yeah, and you have one as well. You love yours.
I love mine.
Yeah,
and that's why, like, when people ask me about, can they be raised up in groups and stuff? Yeah, sure they can, but that's going to happen as they get older. You're going to get dominance, and you're going to think you have something that you don't. So for my own breeding, like for my own stuff that I'm raising up to keep for myself, it's all separate.
Yeah.
And I never have any problems with introduction because I know by the time they're mature and they're ready for introduction, I know exactly what they are, male, female. And if you put a male, female together, I've never seen fighting, really.
Right.
Nothing like that. Stores monitors were the one exception where they're angry to begin with, but that was it. Everything else has been perfect,
Yeah. I mean, because even if you pulled out a beta, like it could be, how long is it? It could take months for that thing to sort of mature itself.
Well, you'd be amazed. You pull it out of that stressful environment, you put it by itself, and within a month, you're like, yeah, that's male.
Okay,
like it's crazy. Yeah, it really is.
That's cool.
As soon as it feels comfortable, it's
That's amazing. Well, Brandon, I think we could talk to you for hours because you have thousands. We'll have to do a proper episode of the podcast at some point. I'll have you on. We'll dig into that. And I think, is there any other things you want to say before we let Brandon go?
No, I don't think so. I probably did, but now I've lost.
You're gonna go to his house later and talk to him for hours. Can you let everybody know where they can find you?
Canadian Cold Blood, Facebook and Instagram. Like I said, the website that I have right now, CanadianColdBlood.com, and so it hasn't been updated since like 2009 or something. I'm sorry. So most recent availability, or if you want to reach out, would be, Facebook, Instagram, or you can email me, Brandon at CanadianColdBlood.com. And if you have questions, I'll answer them.
Cool. Awesome. Well, Brandon, thank you so much. Good luck with the rest of the show. We'll come by and visit you.
Thank you, Greg.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, man. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Good rest of the show.
Oh, that was great.
Yes, that was great.
I love that when you're just like, there's no arrogance. And it's just like, he just knows.
Yep.
Just like
he knows his stuff. He's a good guy and happy to share his information.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is what this should all be about.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah, that was cool. Brad gave us another $5. Brad, thank you so much. He has a Blue Tree monitor himself. And you've probably seen Brad's Bioactive.
Yes.
His enclosures. Should we get who else is on our list?
I don't know who's on the list.
We got Nick, Ashley, Darren. So who wants to come over? Do you want to poke your head in
there? I will
just
poke my head in there.
Anyone. You just grab whichever one looks close. Yeah, as I suspected, this one will be a little long. Well, maybe not. We're an hour and a half in. We'll see. We got a couple more people I want to talk to for sure. Greg will capture them for us. Did you steal someone?
I have stolen someone, the mighty Ashley.
Oh, Ashley.
But she's just got to finish up with someone right now.
She's making a sale.
Yeah, they kind of got open the curtain, and they looked pretty busy over there.
The thing with Ashley is her booth is so unique here because of, as we were talking about with James, just like the ball python, the cresties. She has just crazy stuff. Like when you go to her, like, I mean, a lot of it would be at a price range for people who are just wanting to, get into their first reptile. But
well, she's a big European importer.
Yeah, so you just see some cool stuff.
Yeah, she's got super cool stuff usually.
Yeah,
she has some shinglebacks right now that she's showing off. Which is pretty incredible.
Probably the only one we'll ever see.
Yeah. Probably. I held it.
I touched it. I didn't want to hold it. I didn't want to be responsible for that.
And it was a little nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
But that'll be probably the only one I ever hold.
Yeah, most likely.
And definitely the only one I'll ever lick. So
yeah, thank God for that.
Yeah, it was a good opportunity. They taste like chocolate.
Yeah. Well, as
chicken. I should have said chicken.
As we're waiting for Ashley, we should tell people that you are getting a black tree monitor from Brandon.
I am. Yep.
Later today.
Yep. I have a most likely male black tree monitor.
That's one of his.
That's one of his.
Clutch this year.
Yeah.
So one that actually worked for him.
Yeah. So that's one of last year's.
Do you have plans on? Would you eventually want to try breeding, or
I eventually will?
Oh, you do. Okay. Yeah. So you have to get another one.
Yeah. Yes, I will.
The price tag.
Yeah. But I'll eventually work down that road. Yeah. I've got to kind of restructure. I'm redesigning my room right now.
Yeah. Because I mean, they aren't huge lizards, thankfully.
No, they're not huge, but
they're active.
They're active. They need to have enough room.
Yeah.
And when you're keeping like a bunch of that medium-sized monitor, the enclosures get bigger.
Yeah.
Like when you have, cresties or something like that, you're dealing with an 1824 or 36 or something. And, I'm dealing with 4 foot wide plus enclosures for the most part.
Yeah. So you don't really have room for a lot.
Yeah. So it's kind of,
would you get
planning.
Would you go for a different color as well at some point, or was your heart set on black?
Black was my holy grail.
Yeah.
Of them, I would. We'll see how things go. Down the road, I might delve into a different color, but I'll probably stick with black for now. And I've got Kimberleys and stuff too. So
should we get her to bring something? Should we bring the shingle one?
Yeah, bring something over.
Yeah, bring something over. Yeah.
Oh
no, not pizza.
Wow, I don't know about the pizza.
Yeah. I mean, pizza's cool too, but no one wants to see pizza. Yeah. They've all seen pizza before. Yeah. Most people have seen pizza.
Most people. You have a lot of viewers though, so
yeah,
who knows where they are?
Yeah, that's true. I just feel like the black trees and even the blue trees to some extent were pictures that you would see like 5 years ago, and it would just be like like you said, holy grail. Like you could never imagine even seeing one.
Absolutely.
And now it's like, I mean, that's why you have someone like him who's willing to put the time in and invest, because I can't imagine how much money.
No, especially when you're we'll quote it an early adopter.
That's right.
When you're one of the primary people getting into it, it's an investment, but you also it's your business, and you invest to get returns to some degree. Yeah.
Well, and like I was saying, I had a sense that he would want to write a book because he's one of those note guys, and I just feel like those people, like, they end up with a book anyway because they're like, look at all this shit.
Absolutely.
So much notes. I could easily put a book together. So that would be.
He's a crazy pile of
look at this. We've got sausages.
Oh my golly, they look delicious.
And ice packs.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh God. There we go.
Ashley, welcome to the podcast. Let's see how you sound in here.
Hello.
That's pretty good. Everybody should be familiar with Ashley. You've been on my podcast once.
Yes.
And you've been on. Have you done one with Liam and Ellie before? Probably not.
I don't know who they are.
No, on Reptiles Research. But you did one with Roy and Phil.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So people are familiar with you. So just real quick, for anyone who isn't familiar with you, can you let us know your name? You already know it, but your company, maybe both companies.
Oh, both of my. So I'm Ashley Dezan from Northern Lights Reptile Imports, and I also am the creator of Reptibites. that started because I have an unfortunate liking of snakes that eat frogs.
Yes.
So then some of them are 7 feet long, and I don't want to feed 10, 20 frogs a sitting. So
you have to problem solve that.
Exactly.
So if anyone goes back to the original episode Ashley and I did together, I don't remember 50 somewhere. Anyway, just type it in, you'll find it. We talked about your sort of how you got into importing all that, but also in that episode we talked about the amphibian eaters and these things.
Yeah.
And at that time you were you blending frogs? I forget exactly.
Oh God.
Or what were you? I do remember the story of you thinking like,
so bad.
I'll just take a. Well, you were
sound bad.
importing crazy amounts of frogs to feed, obviously.
Yeah,
And I remember you saying like, she's like, I tried to shave a mouse to trick an animal into thinking it was an amphibian. Like
Yeah.
that didn't work yet. So you've gone through a lot here because you have this passion for species that just aren't going to eat rodents.
Yeah, exactly. So the whole frog and mouse thing you're talking about. So frogs tend to not have great calories, and trying to feed a snake that's again 7 feet long, it needs a lot of calories and it's very active. So I had to like shove pinkies and stuff in their mouth, and I'm not a fan of having rodents being fed to a frog eater. It's not right?
Yes, yeah. So that's how it started. So telling me about the evolution of these. Maybe we can just. Do you want to hold one up to the camera just so people can see the packages?
Yeah.
And
have fun with these. So these are the 2 of the 4 frog ones here.
so obviously, we know the problem. There we go. Repti bites.
Woohoo.
And I guess just real quick for people listening, these are only available in Canada, I assume.
Yes.
So which is good because Americans have similar products. I don't know how similar they are to like the Reptile links and whatnot, but we don't have anything like this in Canada, and it's much needed. So obviously the problem was you don't want to feed rodents to amphibian eaters. And then what did you do from there?
So I basically, when I was importing all these frogs and everything, I'm like, this is crazy. Like, what if one day I can't import these anymore and I'm stuck with snakes that eat frogs? And what do I do? And I wanted to problem solve this before it was too late. And this was maybe 2 years ago. And I started with just basic like gelatin. No specific gelatin, it was just gelatin. And sorry in advance to people that don't like animals being killed. But I would take frogs, and like I'd take like maybe like 2 frogs.
Were these still wild caught imports that you were bringing in? Or?
Yeah, so I would euthanize all my frogs, put them in the freezer just like you would a rat or a mouse or whatever it may be. And I would put them in the blender with frog legs. Sounds so bad. And try and make us like a sausage out of them. So it's easier just to feed and see if it would work. So they would eat them. But my problem was if they were in the temperature of like 80 degrees for any extended time or even less, it was
melted.
Vomit.
Oh.
It was disgusting. And I'm like, well, this is useless.
Yeah.
And so she would eat them, but it had to
what
be
species,
quickly.
by the way? Was this
It's
no?
No, this is Chironia scurrilus,
Okay,
which are the fire snakes or the machete snakes,
Machete snakes,
whatever you want to call them. So, but it worked for me, but there's no way it would work for anybody else.
Yeah, you're not going to sell that.
Yeah.
Exactly. So then I tried to do sausage casing. It worked. Like I just filled them with sausage casing, whatever. But the problem was scenting them.
Oh, because it erases the scent.
Yeah, so all the frogs on the inside, but she's not going to eat them now because
Right.
it doesn't smell like frog. So I was like, okay, so I have this blended frog mash and was like wiping it on the slurry stuff. I'm just like, no, this isn't feasible. This is gross. And so I did a lot of tests and trials. I found a great one. It was the agar, which is gelatin derived from seaweed.
Okay.
So it worked great. However, I'm feeding like at that point 30 to 50% seaweed now to my snakes. And I know they eat some plant material when they eat their food,
Of course,
but
yeah.
it's not that type of amount. And she ate it. It wasn't an issue. There was no issues at all. But I wasn't sure what the long-term effects were going to be. And so I started doing more research, and I found a type of gelatin, which is animal derived, that doesn't really thaw, it doesn't melt, I should say, until around 95 to 120 Fahrenheit.
Okay.
So I was like, most ambient temperatures will not be that unless you thaw them in hot water.
Which I learned.
Oh, did you do that?
I did. So I had a bowl of
soup,
frog soup. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, just don't do that. Don't put them in warm anything. I air thaw them, and they're great. And yeah, since then they've been working great. I've perfected in terms of the nutrition level and diversity. I've added more to my product, so it's not just frog and bullfrog leg. Because at the end of the day, each frog, I don't know what it's eaten last, or what the condition might be that I don't see. Because once they're frozen, like they deflate a lot. So
Gross.
what the nutrition quantity is for a big animal,
right,
is not, you need a lot more.
Yeah,
Otherwise, you're severely lacking even in the sausages. So I get whole ground chicken, which is the next closest thing to a frog. You don't have high fat calories or anything of the sort, high protein content, all that a mouse would have.
Right.
And it works great. I just do, it's like, I don't know, 20% whole ground chicken for all like the whole prey. Then another 20% is whole frog, and then the rest of it is bullfrog legs.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what's I love about
away all your secrets.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I don't think many people aren't going to go through
No,
those blending steps, but that's what I love about the reptile hobby and just community in general. Is like you got to solve a problem, and then you're just doing the weirdest stuff to solve it. You're like, you probably have those moments of realization where you're like cleaning up like frog blender, and you're like, what am I doing?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty good overall, but I ran into new problems with my other formulas. So
because you've been mixing, so you're trying some new things.
Yeah, exactly. So like I have fish and invert now for monitors. That's the main go-to. It could be for anything that eats inverts or whatever. But I ran into an issue where some inverts are very cold tolerant, and that affects gelatin. That was another fun time, and it was disgusting. They formed, there were no problem, but after like 2 hours of being out, they just kind of melted. I'm just like, what is going on? It's at room temperature. But things like shrimp, for example, they're very cold tolerant. So there's something in their blood, like high glucose, that won't let it bind.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
See, look at all the stuff you learn when you start blending animals.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
who knew that?
You would never think about.
Yeah, that's cool though. So how have you had to solve? Have you solved it?
Yeah,
or
I have.
What did? Or is that a secret?
That's a secret. Okay. I'm not telling that one. That one took too long to figure out.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I figured it out, and I can still use shrimp, which is great. I figured it out, but I have to quality test every single batch. I'll just put one aside and just make sure. It. Oh, totally. And make sure it's fine. Like I just leave it out for a few hours.
Okay.
And it's good.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So as far as sourcing the frogs, are those the wild caught ones coming through for the shipments? Like, do you have a plan to eventually try to captive breed a supply, or is that too much? Is that laborious?
So I attempted that. I failed miserably. It is very expensive to do.
Yeah. Okay.
Unfortunately, so I had a colony of Raccophorus leucomys stacks, the golden tree frogs, from Vietnam, and I'd be getting them to breed and whatever, but I was just never getting eggs, or they would lay their foam nest on the mister, and when the mister sprayed, it would just fall in the water. I'm just like, well, that just ruined everything. But then I thought about it though. Once I get the tadpoles to froglets, they're very small.
Yeah.
But then I got to feed these things thousands upon thousands of crickets. And I'm like, well, that's not profitable at all.
Yeah.
So I just import them, I freeze them, make sure all the parasites, anything is just dead, gone.
Yeah.
And I use those.
And then how big? So you actually have these little forms, like these are little jelly molds.
Yeah, exactly. So they're like silicone molds that I use to get the shape. The shape is more just for funsies, right? I got these big guys, and I got frogs half this size. And then I have ones that are like very long, skinny sticks. They're like a quarter of a centimeter or half a centimeter wide.
Yeah.
And you can just cut it up to size for like baby hognose or something.
Okay. And then so
use scissors.
Is that the way to do it? You figured that out?
Ashley told me that.
Okay.
I was sawing through frogs.
Oh, yeah.
Scissors.
Yeah.
You were mentioning with the machete snake that you have to feed like several frogs. So is this the largest size you get? Like, is that
Yeah, so this is I could technically make larger, but it's irrelevant too. It's gonna cost the same amount as feeding like 3 of these.
So you just feed off a couple of those at once. Yeah.
I just put 3 on a plate. Oh, the current one I have, she takes it right off the stats.
Okay, cool.
And she usually they're very shy, flighty species, but she will not let go of it. Even if she's tripping out and like trying to get away from me, she holds it and she runs like a dog with a bone. It's the funniest thing.
Because I imagine one of those sausages is probably like 3 frogs at least.
Exactly.
So you give her a couple of those and you're like 8 frogs in.
Exactly. So with those frogs, with how like nutrient dense they are, it's like a mouse and a half per sausage.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's so crucial. I've talked about this lots. We get hung up on feeding rodents, right? Just across the board. And how many animals don't actually eat? I mean, there are a lot of snakes and whatnot that eat rodents in the wild, but there's also
variety.
They have variety. The rodents are way leaner in the wild. A lot of birds getting eaten, and a lot of amphibians, and a lot of reptiles. So have you tried mixing in any reptiles?
It's gonna be coming up soon.
Okay.
I'm waiting on my geckos.
Okay, like house geckos or like
these will be golden geckos because they're more meatier.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So that'll be another blend.
Crusties.
Yeah. Yeah.
I tried breeding those and I got impatient. I'm like, nah.
Yeah. But it is crucial. Like if we're gonna keep these animals with specialized diets, we kind of can't force them to eat rodents.
And like people are always like, oh, but that's cruel. But it's a mouse and a rat is no different. It's still a living being, more or less, at the end of the day. There's nothing different at the end of the day.
Yeah. So the animals need to eat.
Yeah, we got to treat our animals fairly. And yeah, it sucks. I'm a reptile keeper. I do that, but I keep my reptiles and I have to take care of them properly.
Yeah.
And anybody should do that.
Absolutely.
And it's kind of time. Like this is coming in where it's kind of a time to start. We're looking at so many different things within the hobby right now of what was done wrong or what needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
And diet seems to be one that is severely ignored.
Especially because of how easy rats are.
Yeah. Well, it's just it, right? And everyone's the businesses are there to be set up doing the rat production. Everyone's used to it. They go get they know their rat size or their mouse size that they feed.
Yeah.
There's no guesswork. But changing that.
Yeah.
And this is a great opportunity to do that. I know my Aki goes crazy over them. Like we'll jump up to get them. He goes bananas.
I wonder if it's the scent or the smell. Like I'm sure it's a potent smell compared to like I don't know actually.
Actually they're
I don't really smell them.
No, but I mean they would smell.
Oh yeah, well, clearly I don't smell the frog, but my snakes surely do.
Yeah. And that's what's amazing about it is like, oh, this is an animal that has evolved to eat amphibians. It's like it's programmed to be responding to that. Responding.
Can I be 1 second?
Oh yeah, please, yeah. Oh, you're thirsty.
Yeah, I'm slowly dying.
We have all our waters that we're not sharing. Yeah. That's really cool. So as far as other species that have, you keep obscure things, but just like more common things, I'm sure hognose, monitors. Like, do you have that as well?
Thank you. So story about hognose. This is proof in the pudding. Someone I know had hognose, and he bred them, whatever, like most hognose people do. He had a female that was around 6 years old. Looked great visually, no issues. She died.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, she died. Yeah, you probably saw these photos.
Yeah.
And I opened her up. I like to learn about my animals, so I do necropsies. So I check them out and see what may the cause be, how to fix it, this and that. So I opened her up for him, and I couldn't see any organs.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So between the rib and the skin layer, it was fine. There's no fat buildup, no anything. But her organs were crushed by fat.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, there was so many fat blobs just wrapped around like the heart, the stomach, up into the neck.
And just visually looking at her before she died, you wouldn't have.
She looked okay, and that's the thing with snakes. They build up their fat internally in
visceral.
the skeleton. So not like us where we're squishy everywhere. No, you can't tell unless it's like severe obesity. Then it goes into the skin layer for a snake.
Right. Yeah, and that's an animal that was fed rodents. Whole life.
So it was being fed adult mice at that point. So and then my friend quickly changed his diet on all of his snakes, and you could she looked fine, but the rest of his snakes visually lost a lot of weight still. You would never. She looked normal, hobby standard, but then it's like, oh, you look even better now after a few months.
Yeah.
And that was rotational diet of quail, frogs, frog legs, and like once a month it was like a small hopper mouse rattles.
Yeah, and that's fine too.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing wrong with rodents. It's just like
just don't eat your steak every day.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
It's a lot. There's a lot of fat, especially the lab grown mice. Like they're gonna be fatty. Yeah, that's pretty
they're not worked out.
Yeah, they're just sitting there waiting.
Well, that's just that they're in the bins, right? So they don't have the same exercise as a wild mouse.
Yeah,
and that's the issue.
And so you're also, I know you have some quail that you're working on.
Yeah.
Is that for these, or that's just for both, like as a feeder, or?
So I'm going to be putting them in this as well as selling them as for feeders, and I use them as feeders, and
yeah,
and pets.
Yeah, pets too. Yeah, I know. I always tell the story because I feed a lot of quail, and I remember seeing one of my friends who's a vet post like someone bringing their pet quail in for a checkup, and I'm like, oh, that's so weird. I got like 10 of them in my freezer.
Yeah.
It's just that you could have a different relationship with them.
Yeah,
but they are cute.
They are adorable. I love my quail.
I've just seen in a video chat some baby quails.
Yeah. They're so small too. Like that's what's nice about them. Like when they hatch, they're tiny.
Like I could get in a lot of trouble adding a quail onto my list after this expo.
Oh,
right? Oh, you might be bringing some home tonight. I have a button quail right now. They're the smallest of all the quail, and the chicks are quote unquote called bumblebee chicks because they're almost the size of a bumblebee.
That's
they're
crazy.
a smidge bigger, but like my thumb.
Yeah.
A day old, and with my quail. Most people will euthanize day-old chicks a day old. The problem with that is they're full of yolk. So this new highly dense nutritional, again, blob at that point, which is great for the odd rare meal, but you cannot feed that every day.
Right.
And it's a problem. So people are like, oh yeah, birds are so much better, but you're working with the birds where the bone density is not there yet. The calcium is not there yet. And it's a lot of fats, a lot of proteins in the yolk within the chick. And you're just feeding a bunch of pinkies at that point to your animal.
Yeah.
So I wait till about 3 days before I euthanize my quail. So the yolk is gone, it's used, and they're eating on their own, and they're stronger.
Okay, that's a good tip, actually.
Yeah, it never dawned on me.
Yeah. Although I do think about the pinkies all the time, right? How they're basically a blob.
A blob of fat and milk.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and milk. Yeah, as you can see the milk in their bellies, even. Yeah. Like that's really all you are is a milk bag.
Yeah, because they need that fat to live those few days before they get going, right?
Yeah.
So that's one thing people fail to realize, and I understand why they don't realize it, because it's like, oh, different prey item, birds are healthier, less fat, but it's like all that in there right now on that day-old chick is just, it's not good.
Yeah.
So on top of that, you also have your importation business, which is like you're one of the reasons we have a diverse hobby in Canada in a lot of ways. Like you bring things in, which is really cool. So can you tell us a little bit about that? I mean, that's a lot of work too.
So that all started because of a snake I wanted that I bought without any knowledge of how to get it into Canada because I really wanted it and I didn't care. I was like, I'm running away.
You bought it first, right?
Yeah.
This is the mangrove.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. The Palilo mangrove snakes, and it was beautiful, like bright blue and yellows and blacks. It was great. So I was looking for, I wonder if you could ever get these, and this was back in 2013, I think. And I found one on a random German website. And it was just a snake in a garbage pail. And I'm like, I want it. I finally found it. So I contacted the guy and I'm like, I'll pay for it right now. How much is it? He's like 2,000 euro. And at the time, that's like 3,800 Canadian. I'm just like, oh my God. But I'm like, okay, I'll figure it out somehow. Give me a few months to pay it in increments. And he's like, okay, sure. This guy had no idea who I was, but he was very trusting.
Because how old were you?
I was 20. What was I in 2013? 22.
Okay, so pretty young.
I was 22.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I know, it's weird. I always forget about that.
I was 45 and 20.
I always think the 2008 and
7
was 10 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's a blur.
Yeah.
All a blur.
But so I bought her and I'm like, how the heck do I figure this out? And so he got me in contact with another European. And she was like, yeah, we can figure something out, but it's going to be very expensive, whatever. So I'm like, oh, true. And so she offered a few of her animals to me. So I could just tell friends, like, hey, do you guys want anything just to cover the freight cost? And then she offered me the first generation ever of the Palilo mangroves. And the first ones ever offered. And I don't know where they came from or whatever. I'm just like, yes.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take them, whatever, might as well. And from there, I she hooked up the import thing. I figured out how to do the import on our side. And I brought in my first shipment ever. It was just one box, and it was just the greatest thing. I loved it. And then for a while, I just did like friends on the import because we just wanted cool animals at that point.
Yeah.
And then it just slowly started to, I'd advertise it publicly, loosely, like, hey, I could get this, I could get that, just to see what the feel would be. And nowadays, I only bring in like the really sensitive, uncommon, or rare species. Like all the other importers around or exporters in Europe, they do like crested geckos, ball pythons, boas, like common stuff. And for whatever reason, people just come to me for like the really sensitive species because that's actually what I specialize in at home. So I know the weird quirks that a lot of species have that most people don't.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. And you do a great job. You bring them in, you make sure they're set up, they're hydrated. You're not just like...
they're not going to be in a deli cup for a week like a lot of people.
Exactly, yeah, which is really cool. But I can only imagine like how much work you do just to make sure these animals are eating or, oh my God, because you're dealing with such picky things.
Yeah, like they sit with me for like a week, max 2 weeks. So I make sure everyone's eating, everyone's healthy. Like, of course, you run into the odd issue. But if there's issues like medically, I'll ask the person if they want me to just deal with it, have my vet come by, whatever.
Yeah.
So like, my relationship with my vet, I have my own medications on hand that she allows me to get. And if I need help with something, she's always on call.
Yeah.
And she'll just walk me through something or whatever. But for the most part, she's allowed me to just, I don't know what the term is for that. My dad said it, like a lot of farmers do it, where you're basically
like a self-administration or whatever.
Yeah, like, but you're allowed to do, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So but basically she allows me to do all the medication stuff on my own. And so I treat all my customers' animals free of charge.
Really? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I will not charge them because it's not their fault, right? And I know it's not my fault either, but I feel loosely responsible, even though it's not my fault, for importing them in. But they purchased it. It's just
you're the middleman.
I feel really bad. So if I can help, I will help.
Because it's not an attitude a lot of importers have. Because it's like it's like a hot potato. Like you want to get rid of the animals.
I've seen some terrible things, and just they don't care. A lot of people do not care.
Yeah, Greg, get more pizza.
I am so sorry.
No, eat that pizza, man.
And so I do everything in my power that I can. And of course, you still get the odd bad apple customers, and they're like, "Oh, what's wrong? Blah blah blah. Why are you doing this? Why did it come in bad?" I'm like, "It's nothing I did.
That's how they come.
I've had it for a week.
Yeah.
Nothing develops that fast unless I throw it out a window or something.
Which you don't normally do.
No, not normally.
Have the repti bites come in handy with getting snakes eating, like the weird ones?
So I personally have not tried it on babies yet like that.
Okay.
But a friend of mine has on a bunch of baby mangroves that he had for over a year. He's been assist feeding them for over a year, and first shot they ate.
Really?
Yeah.
That is so cool.
I didn't believe him at first. I'm like, "Are you serious?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "I don't believe you."
He probably didn't believe it. Yeah.
Because like baby mangroves are the fussiest things ever. Like I try live frogs, I try live lizards, and they turn their nose at it. I'm just like, why did this work?
Yeah. See,
that's a weird coincidence, but it was 3.
That's the wrong pitch. You're supposed to be like, I know why it worked. I'm just not sharing that information.
No. Yes. But if anything, the fact I didn't realize what actually worked means it works.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's true, right?
Yeah, that's cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't expect it to. It did. I mean, cool. That's what I wanted to do, right?
Well, yeah, no, exactly. I mean, there's something with the sand. Who knows what's going on there? But that's really cool. And then, like, as far as the importation process, that's a ton of work for you. Like, I know you go to the airport, you get a big box, and then you're up like all night sorting through animals. Oh
God, yeah. Thank God I get help now from Darren and a couple people. But so it takes me about solid 3 days. If I didn't sleep, it's a 3-day process of setup in the import room. So I clean out everything's all cleaned out from the previous. Re-sanitize everything.
Right.
Depending what's coming in, like I pre-label all the enclosures for what's going in where, and I set them up to the best of my ability. Like nothing too elaborate unless it's like some really cryptic lizard that needs to be in a heavily planted setup. Yeah. Like even anoles, I always have a planted setup for those. And snakes and whatnot, like I'll just loosely pre-treat, like for my preventatives, like have it air out for a week.
Yeah.
So it's all good, and it's
sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah. And then they're with me for a week. I unpack them, I have to repack them, And the repacking process is about a solid 24-hour job.
Wow.
Yeah.
But do they all go out kind of together or
yeah, all at once? So I repack the entire shipment if there's no pickups.
Yeah.
So,
and then it goes to somebody like across the border or whatever.
Yeah. So basically, I use Sam for domestic and U.S. stuff. So he comes to my house and he just picks up all the boxes. So basically, all the boxes I got on import, he takes every single one back.
Okay.
And so then he ships out all my domestics and he ships out all my US. So I have to write like the buyer's name on it, the species, and like 1 of 10, 2 of 10, 3 of 10. So they know who to sort and how many there are, right? And it's a process. I'm like, oh, I could do this in a few hours. No. No.
Yeah.
But this is why I make sure everyone gets fed, gets watered, and I pack up in their like a deli cup. Let's say it's let's say a mountain horn dragon. What I do with those is just paper towel. I'll put them in a container, this paper towel, and then I take like a clump of moss and I heavily squeeze it out so it's not wet, but it's damp for some humidity in the air. And then I'll like very lightly mist the lid. So there's just some droplets, but it's not droplets enough to fall on the paper towel to get wet. So it's still dry, but it's humid in those containers.
Yeah.
So that way it's like a mini enclosure that they could be okay in it for a couple days.
Yeah. Do you have any favorite species that you brought in this year? You brought in some crazy things.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Some things with like several zeros after. My eyes just stop after the third digit. And
so this one
after
was
the third comma.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this last import and some of the stuff here, it was probably one of the coolest stuff I brought in. So like the Nautilus and New Zealand green geckos were one of the most unique things I've ever seen in my life. They're a lot easier to keep too than I expected because I'm babysitting several at home right now.
Yeah.
And the one here as well I've been keeping. Those are really fun. The shinglebacks, as always. Like I've had those in a few times before, but they're always amazing to have in. They're little garbage cans for the most part. Some are very finicky, but they're puppies.
Yeah.
They just sit there and take the love abuse.
Yeah.
It's so great.
Yeah, those are cool.
Yeah, they're very cool.
They're super nifty. But other than that, it's always my usual staples like mangrove snakes. And,
lots of Boega.
Asian species and whatnot.
Yeah.
So.
It's a cool table. If you ever are at a Canadian Expo, actually there, go see her stuff because she's always got the most diverse things. And the show's been pretty good for you this
it's
week.
been pretty good.
Yeah.
The things I expected to sell did sell.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, should we let you get back to your booth through the blue curtain wall?
Or are you enjoying letting everyone else deal with it?
Yeah.
Right
you can
now.
stay as long as you want. Yeah. Well, Ashley, thank you so much.
No problem.
That was great. We'll be over to your side soon. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah. Look, really excited about the Repti bites. I can't wait to see that blow up.
Can you even take some home?
I don't know.
They probably melt.
Yeah.
If I give you some ice packs.
Maybe I could try.
Yeah, it'd be worth trying. They're vacuum packed.
I think I have a freezer at my hotel.
Yeah.
My bag will get searched.
Yeah.
Because I got weird stuff in it. Like my suitcase has like a long black pole, and then like all these look weird. So I noticed like when I opened my suitcase today, it was like it was all rifled through, and there's a little card saying we searched your shut. So they'll search it and find. Yeah, you might grab.
Should I find Nick there?
Yeah.
I saw his head. He wants to talk about moose. Everybody.
Yeah. Nick is he's a hunter. Is he going to bring the blinking lizards?
He's on his way with his blinking skink.
I don't think they're going to see on camera.
Well, you never know.
You never know.
Here we are. Nick, what's up?
I don't know. Don't I get a cool pair?
No. I didn't think we would even need these, but it's so loud in here.
Yeah.
We can't hear. You can hear us barely.
No, it's good now.
Today's
it's not so bad.
Yesterday.
There's fewer people now than like a couple minutes ago.
Yeah.
It was really loud like half an hour ago.
So if I do this again, I'll get another splitter so I can get headphones to everybody because I can hear everybody and you can hear everybody.
Yeah.
But yesterday,
I'm very disappointed.
You sound great, man. Don't worry.
All right.
Yeah. That sounds good.
I don't have to modulate my voice.
No. In fact, I encourage you not to modulate your voice.
Yeah, please don't do that. Yeah. Tell us your Instagram page real quick, fast. People can go find you.
Instagram page? What?
Hey, tell us what it is. Your Instagram. Tell us your Instagram page, the handle.
The handle is at NI Reptiles. So that's for NIR Reptiles. It's Nick's Intriguing Reptiles. So, yeah.
And you have you were on the podcast around this time last year, maybe just after the Expo was when we first met, and you have a real cool story of getting into kind of blowing up into the sort of the rack scene with tons of snakes and getting kind of overwhelmed and burnt out almost, and then coming back into the hobby years later. I don't know how long was the gap. I forget.
Not a huge gap, and I always had reptiles too. Like I never completely left, but I'd say it was about 3 years break from breeding and having a bigger collection, if I can say.
Yeah. And now you have one of the coolest like lizard collections in Canada, probably. I don't know.
Probably. I still haven't seen it, but from what he says, he's got the coolest.
Yeah, it's a lot of those pictures I also find on Google.
You guys were speaking to Brandon a few minutes ago. He's got a pretty cool collection as well.
True. Yeah, he's up there.
I mean,
but yours is very diverse, and you bring in weird things.
Yeah, exactly. I love the weird stuff.
So is there anything you look for in particular when bringing in a new species? Like
that's
other parameters,
really
like
tough question.
Size or anything that you have to fit in, or
There's a bunch of parameters, right?
Yeah.
The first one is I never get stuff that doesn't fit well in my room. Like my room is pretty much like 25 degrees all throughout summer, so I can't get any of the, for example, Europlatus. I would have a hard time with that. Anything that needs a little cooler temperatures, I would have a hard time with that. So that's the first thing. I look for stuff that can fit well in my room, and nothing big. Sorry, Greg. I'll leave you with the.
I'm okay with having
monitor
something big.
Lizards.
Yeah.
And after that, I think follow my heart. It's very. It sounds very romantic when it comes to lizard shopping.
Yeah, just French blood.
I look for, colors, morphology.
Yeah.
Cool behavior is a big thing. Like I have a big thing for live bearers and lizards that have kind of a social aspect to them. Like a lot of skinks have that.
Yes, they do.
That's fascinating for me.
Yeah. You don't have monkey tails though, do you?
I don't.
That's insane.
I have
There's such a crazy
hard time
social.
with I have a hard time with herbivorous species.
Yeah.
Really?
No, well, if you don't keep many of them, like it's too different. It starts to become multiple things, right? Like for me, that's I have some, and it's definitely a contrast.
Yeah.
And you go to grocery stores, to shop for herbivorous food, and like, I mean, sorry, but Caesar salad, iceberg salad doesn't cut it.
No,
you have to find dandelions, collards,
exactly,
and stuff that's good for them. And none of that stuff is easy to find for me and where I live. So,
I got contacts.
Yeah. And what did you bring to the show this weekend that you're trying to sell?
I had some baby galliwasp that were born at my place. If people follow my Instagram page, they saw a couple videos and pictures of that. Those are pretty close to my heart. They're on my logo.
Yeah,
I love that species.
I brought some weird.
Oh yeah, they're something else. They're like a cross between a skink and a snake.
Yes, yeah.
Anyways, I brought some baby blue beauty anoles. So those are neat as well. And I also brought some weird geckos and stuff.
Yeah, some Australian leaftail.
Yeah, Aussie leaftails and
And then what are you going home with here?
Yeah, this is my my friend Patrick Laplante in Quebec. If you follow his page, is Riveting Reptiles. He wants to focus on snakes more. So he offered me this cool pair of Almahera ground skinks.
That is cool. They're known as the blinking skink, I think.
I have recently redubbed their common name to blinking skinks. And I will definitely try to video that aspect of them and put that on my feed because it is, well, these guys know, but it is fascinating.
It's just fascinating.
Imagine a skink's eye and then imagine it closing and then opening again.
Yes.
But it's not that simple, Dylan. It's not that simple. They literally blink like a person. Like we blink to keep our eyes humid. And, lizards in general, some of them blink, but slowly, or
It's
in
not the same. Not
in a
quite the
reptile
same,
fashion, in a reptile manner.
This is human
These guys literally they literally go like blink every few seconds. It's crazy.
We've had hours of this conversation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm fascinated.
Do you think you could hold that closer to the camera?
Yeah, I can hold that.
I
Let's
don't
see
know
if I
if
can
you
get
guys
it to
can
blink.
You probably won't be able to see a blink, but
I can't see the camera.
oh yeah, you're getting close. Yeah.
They are an absolute gorgeous
Did it blink?
species. Gorgeous species.
I tried to scare a blink out of it. I don't think I did.
Yeah, they have a very they just blinked.
Oh
just
man,
They have a very like inquisitive looking face. Like
Yeah.
they're very
Yeah.
curious. Yeah,
I
that's
love
cool.
the black
So you got a
stripes
pair.
on the chin. Yeah, I have a
And
male and female.
So you'll be breeding those.
They are very, very rarely bred. I've done a lot of research, and I found one recent person that had eggs and hatched them, but they are very rarely bred.
Yeah,
Very rarely.
So we believe in you. We'll be watching your feed.
Yeah.
to see
I feel
that.
the pressure.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
gonna be
you
pressure.
should. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's cool. The blue beauties are amazing.
Yeah,
And
they are.
Are those some of your favorites in the room? It's not. I know everybody hates that question, but I know that you do like them. But they have this character about them.
And what's funny about the blue beauties is that earlier in the spring I thought about selling them.
Interesting.
Yeah, because they were very skittish.
Oh, that's right. I remember you saying the
Yeah,
adults
they were
quite
super
flighty.
skittish,
Yeah.
and I wasn't seeing them a whole lot.
I remember you talked about it at the last expo.
And
yeah.
And then I gave it more time, and maybe they heard my thoughts about them moving out of my fantastic reptile room, because the moment I talked about selling them, they started being less skittish and more visible. So and now they're a little more interactive.
Yeah.
I got my pair; they were pretty big already, and I have a feeling like they didn't have much interaction growing up.
Yeah. So it's a new environment.
I don't think they were trained to. They were trained like to hand feed or tongue feed and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the babies they're producing, like they're only a few weeks old, and I'm already offering them crickets and prey from tongues, and they're taking it. So
okay, that's cool.
yeah. So I think with some work, this species can be definitely less skittish.
Yeah.
For
Well, that's
sure.
awesome.
Yeah, they're beautiful, but B, they get way bigger than I thought.
Me too.
Like, like I thought I knew they were big, but I thought like a Cuban Nightingale, like something like that.
Oh yeah.
But
I received them, and the male was, let's say, without the tail, probably like 8 inches,
Okay.
6 inches.
Yeah.
It's already a good sized lizard. And I was like, okay, so these are pretty much already adults. And no, like the male almost doubled that size, not in length,
Wow.
but also in the head is
Like
so big.
bone
and
structure.
Yeah.
Bone structure. They're heavy. They're a heavy lizard.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're impressive.
cool.
They are impressive.
yeah. And imagine having it super interactive where they're not afraid of you and you can tongue feed them. Like that's a pretty cool experience.
Yeah, for sure. But to answer your question, I don't think they're the favorites in my room.
Okay. That's a favorite.
That was incredible because I did not remember that question.
Yeah, me either. I forgot. Yeah. That's good. Good job holding that on.
Yeah, I have a thing for dragons. I love my dragons. The Boyds.
I was
the-
going to say the
I,
Boyds.
I do a lot of work lately with the Natalies. My female Natalie does look like she's working on eggs.
Oh, cool.
I am crossing my fingers. She's definitely, belly heavy a little bit, and it's not food.
Yeah.
Because I keep my animals lean and mean. But that would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
What I have 2 questions. Just deciding which one to ask first. I think was it yesterday you were telling us a story about an animal that you got in that you thought was male, and then it. What was that? I forget now.
Okay, so those are diving lizards.
Oh, those are the diving lizards. Okay.
Yeah, they're a small iguana species from South America. They are amazing. Best personality ever. I mean, they could win a prize for best personality as far as lizards go. And the cool thing about that lizard is that they are sexually dimorphic in color and other morphological characteristics as well, like size and stuff like that, but color. And when they are born, one of them is almost completely black eyes, like
one of the sexes.
Yeah. And the other one is more like light brown with some patterns and
wow, so right from the
golden
start.
golden eyes, and so they basically almost look like two different species.
Wow.
When they're born. And the breeder, they're not a very well-known species, and they're not bred super often in captivity. And the breeder thought that the black ones were males and that the light ones were females. So that's what he told me. And that's what I went by for the next 2 years. And this year, the black one.
So Henry's Henriette now.
Yeah, yeah. The black one is getting heavy and started getting, in my mind, bloated. So I was talking with Ashley, like, what do I do? And we were thinking, like, maybe a gut infection or whatever. I've never seen that. It's getting really bloated. But now I know why. The male laid 8 eggs.
That's the crazy thing about that species.
It's twin 23, man. It's twin 23.
Yeah, anything can happen.
If a male wants to lay eggs,
it laid eggs.
Who am I to say no?
That's right.
So now I figured out that the females are black and the males are light colored.
And have those eggs hatched, or they're still incubating?
They're still incubating.
Okay.
And I candled them. I did a little post, I think last week. I candled them, and I can see some embryos moving in there. So
cool.
They've been incubating at room temperature for 70 days, and they go. And the breeder in EU told me that they go for like 85 days at room temperature.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm really crossing my fingers for babies in the next 2 weeks, maybe.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That would be amazing. I can't wait to share the species with the hobby because, boy, they're something else.
They're great size too.
They're perfect.
Yeah,
they're perfect. As far as size goes, I would compare them to
like Fiji or even smaller.
No, smaller than Fiji for sure.
Yeah,
it's actually hard to find a comparison. Size-wise, maybe a Chihuahua gecko.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so the size of the body and you know, obviously different morphology, but
yeah. So, and they are diving lizards, so they are aquatic. Like do you set them up aquatically with
They are considered semi-aquatic.
Okay.
Yeah. So they live in floodplains in South America.
Okay.
They have no problems being fully terrestrial, and they are often found right in the jungle. But they're called diving lizards because obviously they hang out on trees and on tree limbs and branches and stuff, and they'll dive in the water to escape predators.
Right.
And
do you ever set them up that way with a large water?
Yeah.
Pot? Oh, you do. Okay.
Yeah. At my place, they're in a 4x4x2 enclosure, which is really big for them. And some dog commotion back there.
Is, one of the sad parts about having dogs here.
Yeah.
They're in a 4x4x2 enclosure, and it's fun because they're a really cool display species as well. Like they're always right in the center of the terrarium, like hanging out on branches. So cool.
And then for water, what do you have? Like a large thing?
I just have a large tub that's buried in the substrate and trying to make it look a bit more natural, but at the same time, you know, I want to keep it easy to clean. I think last time we talked, I had this huge idea about building because they're also like close to streams sometimes. So I really wanted to use the size of the enclosure to build like a stream, and you know, I had an idea in mind, but I think it's not something I've brushed off, but it's a big project, and water features are. We were talking about that yesterday too. Like water features are tough.
They are.
So,
they are. Yeah. We'll talk about that one.
I'm a water feature guy.
You're
I'm a water feature guy.
I am no expert, but I would love to provide them with more water. I'm sure they would enjoy it.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah,
that'd be very cool.
Yeah, the water features are always they can be hard. And I have one like with a pump.
I think everyone overthinks them.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, because if you don't come at it from a fish perspective, you just don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people overthink it in the sense of like, oh, I wanted to do this and that and this, and it's like maybe simplifying some aspects of it.
Yeah,
makes it so water doesn't run into the terrestrial area.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is like 90% of the time ends up being the biggest problem.
Yeah, it's like everything's flooded.
They're flooding everything out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, anyways, we'll see. And shout out to Arman from Herptime.
Yeah,
he has diving lizard eggs as well.
Okay,
right now.
Cool.
So
it's
we
a
talked
race.
a little. We exchanged a few messages, and I hope he has success as well with his. And maybe we can do some trades to diversify some bloodlines and stuff. And so that's really cool.
That's cool.
So a good future for those lizards in the hobby, I think.
Yeah. That's so cool. And,
Yeah.
and people like you, like actually stepping up and trying to get something new out there that, new, quote unquote, a few million years of evolution excluded.
A new species drop.
But letting people see new things that are great sizes. That was the greatest thing about it, seeing the Fiji start to pop up. Hopefully, like, the price will kind of level out and make it so the average Joe Schmo can maybe think about something, but getting things that are a good size out there is so cool.
Yeah, getting things that are good size, easy to care for. None of what I keep is, well, that's not true. Most of what I keep is not species that I would consider tough,
right?
Like hard, hard to keep. Like the one exception.
Hard to get.
Yeah,
hard to get.
Is, but that's that's what I'm trying to change.
You're Boyd's, man. Like you're the Boyd's guy. I don't know. I don't know other people around that are.
That's the one project that I really have at heart. They are slow growers.
Yeah.
I'm finding out. I kind of already knew that, but so that project is still a ways away from giving some results, some hopeful results. But I'm working hard on that.
What's I just see someone asking the Latin name of the species. I think that's for diving lizards.
Uranoscodon superciliosus.
That's the French version.
That's if you take the French accent off, it sounds a little different.
Say it with an English accent. Uranoscodon superciliosus.
Hey, that was pretty good.
That was pretty good. I'll give you that. Yeah, better than I would have said it. So
it's a long name.
Yeah, so there you go.
Yeah, they're not super common.
Yeah, but like you said, so you have people that, because Nick, you're not focused on trying to make a ton of money, and I always want to make a point that I'm not worried about. I don't have an issue with people making money. I mean, we've had people on the podcast today who that's their full-time business. That's totally fine. But you're able to be more flexible.
Yeah, because it's not an income.
Yeah, it's not an income.
Zero.
So you can mess around with things like we joked about last year, how you bred those really cool, I think it was the granite leaf tails, and nobody wanted them.
Yeah.
But they're so cool, and this is like the first person to do it, and everyone's like, whatever.
Yeah.
And he laughed about it. It wasn't like, it wasn't like, oh my God, like I was supposed to
It's a laughing matter. There's no ways around it.
Yeah.
And if people are Googling the diving lizards, I use diving lizards as the common name because that's what I like. Being an uncommon species, there's more than one common name. We often see that. The other common name is, and I hate it, it's moped iguana.
Mopped. Like
I have
mophead.
I have
mophead.
No idea where that comes from. It's such an ugly name, moped iguana, and literally like MOP-ed iguana. What the hell?
Yeah, let's go with the
diving lizard.
Diving lizard.
People.
Diving
lizard.
That sounds a lot cooler.
I'm okay pushing that.
Yeah.
And so because of what you breed and keep, it's obscure. You're not going to have a market for it right away because people might not even have heard of it. Do you struggle selling things? Like, do you actually focus on trying to move animals to keepers, or are you just like, if people find you because they want that obscure species, you sell them?
I produce so few animals.
Okay.
And I think that's what I got to keep in mind always. Like, I do not have a facility where I can house hundreds of lizards.
Right. Yeah.
So I have to be really careful with how many lizards I produce. So, for example, the blue beauties, they lay quite a lot of eggs. They when the female starts laying early summer, she lays one egg a week.
Oh wow!
So they can lay 10 to 12 eggs in a season.
Wow.
What do I do with 12 blue beauty babies?
Yeah.
So, I have them in a really elaborate planted terrarium, and I dug up a few eggs and I incubated a few eggs, but I did not put in huge effort
to find other ones.
Find them, or, I didn't want to mass produce those guys just because.
Yeah, and it's too bad. Like, you don't have a friend or anything that lives somewhat close that keeps monitors or anything that would really eat those eggs.
Yeah. I wish I knew a monitor guy that wanted to buy Blue Beauty and Olds.
There's no one I know. Yeah.
But, I've heard that about Boyd's too. I've heard Boyd's who is it? Coops.
They have small touches.
Yeah. Well, he ends up
like Coops Reptiles.
Yeah.
He puts a limit. He puts a limit on how many he feeds his extra eggs off.
Damn right.
He's like, okay, there's an interest in this many.
Yeah.
I will keep that many.
Yeah.
Plus a couple buffers, and then that's it. So he's not like oversaturating. And
I think that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the idea is not to control price or whatever, but it's to meet demand. Like
exactly.
Nobody messaged me about Blue Beauties, and they're on the table right now, and it's day 2, and it looks like I'm bringing them home tonight.
Yeah.
Unless some monitor guy steps up. He's not listening. I don't know why we're doing this, but whatever.
Exactly. You can take those home.
So, you know,
that's a funny thing though about, and this gets into like a philosophical topic, but like when you have egg layers, it doesn't feel wrong to just not incubate them.
Yeah.
But if you have live bearers, you get the babies.
Well, they're already pre-incubated.
That's pre-incubated. They come out moving, ready to go.
Yeah.
The nice thing
you
about
still flood a market with it, like a litter of bolus, right? Like 40
absolutely.
babies. Like, should you have 40 babies? You can't control it.
Well, most live bearers don't push out tons,
Exactly.
right?
No.
Like
exactly.
Some snakes have huge litters.
yeah.
All the live-bearing lizards I work with have somewhat small litters.
Like 1
the
to-
exception to
1 to
that
3.
would be like zebra skinks. They have like, you know, they can have like 8, 12 babies.
Yeah.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
I guess it just comes to how many pairings you have.
Jeez, they must be tiny, man.
Yeah.
Like jelly beans.
It's always surprising the size, you know, of babies with live bearers.
Yeah.
Like with the galliwasp, the female is not that big, and she gave me 3 huge babies. I was astounded by their size.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So, no, with live bearers, the nice thing is that usually it's small litters. But yeah, you're right. It's something you have to juggle with as a breeder. It's a decision you make, and you have to live with it. And,
we'll just breed less live bearers if they have.
This
larger
year, I
litters,
decided
right?
not to breed the granite leaf-tail geckos.
Yeah.
Just because last year I produced a few and they were not necessarily easy to move. And so this year I gave them a year off. They're going to be better off. The adults are probably going to be more healthy. And I don't care.
Yeah.
I enjoy them.
Yeah. Well, that's the point, right?
Yeah. It's all. Yeah.
Sometimes we all get caught up in, when the next year, you're just like, oh, I got this species. Well, are you going to pair it up?
Yeah.
It's like, eventually I will probably.
Yeah. How about just right now? I just enjoy it.
Like even when I got my Aki, I was like adamant. I was not going to, I was like, nope. Breeding
That's
them
what
is
I
not a
enjoy.
direction I'm going to go. Now I'm like, you know what? I will, but I'll keep it to a lower.
I like breeding
volume.
because it brings things full circle for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
And
you
them,
know,
they're naturally, they breed.
Yeah.
So I think your animals kind of go through their phase. And they're more
So not
enjoyable.
producing a lot of animals is the fun thing with having, you know, good friends and stuff is that instead of having the pressure of putting forward a full table at expos like this.
Yes. You can just bring a couple animals.
Yeah,
in
we
there.
just a couple of friends, we band up together and you know, we have a nice, interesting full table, but it's
diverse.
like a couple of breeders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By
that's
the way,
cool.
Greg, I just sold your lineatas.
Oh man, you've been waiting all weekend for that.
What do you want? A high five or a fucking handshake?
Give you a handshake.
I was going
I'll
to
give you a
do the
bump.
handshake.
There
Oh,
you
there
go.
you go.
He has the sweatiest hands you ever did feel.
Oh, fucking sorry.
I was gonna say about
Oh,
that.
that's awesome, dude.
Yeah, that's cool. You don't have to go home with those. Thank God for that. No, there was something else I was gonna say about that. What were we were just saying? I forget. What were you just ending with? You forget?
I was saying that we were, you know, a couple friends banding together to, you know, offer a nice variety of animals.
Yeah.
You know,
And not
that's
having the
it.
pressure,
Sorry,
not
I'm
having the
sorry.
pressure on the to be breeding heavy to fill a table.
I remember now too. And like, what's great about because you have that attitude as well. Like all your animals are in amazing setups. Like they have this real full, enriched environment. You're replicating this.
That's the goal.
Yeah,
That's the
And you can
goal.
tell they're loved. The ones that come in here, man, like
Oh yeah.
like you can tell they're cared for animals.
Exactly. Yeah, they're healthy looking,
Yeah.
they're clear eyes. There's no weird discharge or whatever. And the thing is like you're going to give your granites a year off. They're not going to sit in their breeding tub for 12 months waiting their breeding, and they're in their beautiful environment. And that's just cool.
Yeah, no, I try to do that for sure.
Yeah,
It's always a challenge, like you
yeah.
know, bringing new stuff home.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But hopefully these guys enjoy their new 4-foot enclosure.
The blinking skink.
The blinking skink.
Yeah.
The Indonesian blinking skink.
That's going to be sick. I can't wait till that catches on.
I know that is the best name.
The
I like
blinking
that.
morph as the ones that blink more.
Yeah.
You breed
Yeah, yeah.
those.
When I offered that on Morph Market, it'll be like the new thing.
They'll be
Yeah.
like, oh my
It'll
god,
be
the
so
blinking skink.
popular.
Yeah. People will buy them up, and then they'll be like, oh, these are just
It's just regular skinks.
Yeah, it's actually crazy. this species, from what I can tell, lays very, very small clutch. Like they have a very small clutch size. Like I think it's like 1 or 2 eggs.
Oh wow!
Oh really?
And
Very gecko-ish.
apparently, one of the problem people have is finding the eggs. Like the females do not show. They're pretty big skinks and they're pretty heavy bodied.
Yeah.
And they don't show very well when they're carrying eggs.
Oh, so you might not even. Be
So you
paying
don't
attention.
necessarily know when to search for eggs, and apparently they hide them well. And note there are almost not a lot of species can hatch directly in the terrarium.
No,
so
they're going to need some heat for sure.
You could
So
put
I'm
a-
gonna
put
have
a
to
heat
figure
pad
that out.
underneath to keep the soil a certain temperature.
yeah, I never use heat pads.
I
have zero underbelly.
I don't
Me
either.
too,
I don't
yeah.
either. But
Zero.
if you're dealing with a species that is going to hide its eggs, but they need a certain incubation level, you might be able to cheat it by
Yeah,
heating the soil, just warming the soil up so it's not.
I
room
think the
temp,
way I would do that is probably had a lot of structure to the enclosure, and what I mean by that is a few heat lamps,
Yeah.
different wattage, and lots of rocks
Yeah.
inside the substrate and on the substrate. And that way, I do that with the galley-wasps.
Yeah.
That way, you create multiple layers of heat,
Right.
and the rocks transfer heat. The rocks
Yeah,
that are on
differently.
top
Yeah, yeah.
transfer heat. The rocks that are on the bottom,
Yeah.
and the rocks actually keep the heat throughout the night and stuff like that. So
Yeah, it doesn't drop the
that's
heat.
the way I
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Fine.
Yeah.
You win, man. It wasn't a
Yeah.
competition.
Yeah.
But,
At the end of the day, Nick wins again.
yeah.
Anyway,
used to it.
Nick, this is awesome. You're up to
Yeah.
always cool things. Again, can you remind everybody the Instagram handle?
Yeah, it's NI Reptiles.
And Reptiles.
NI.
Nick's Intriguing Reptiles. You can see
Yeah.
all his posts there and on Facebook too.
Yeah.
And you're always up to some cool stuff. I can't wait to see the continued projects and see what this ends up as. And as always,
And go subscribe to the page. You might see a skink blink.
there you go. Yeah, I can't wait
I'm
to post
sure.
that video.
By like tonight at midnight,
Yeah.
there'll be a blink, a skink blink.
That's going to be sick.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. I'll let you
All
get
right.
back to your booth. We're going to
Yeah.
come over there
Thanks
right
for
away.
having me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
right.
See you guys.
See you, Nick. Bye-bye. Do you want to try to send Darren over to see if he wants to come?
Oh, I will try to.
I'll go fetch Darren.
Yeah, yeah, you
I'll
go
go
fetch
fetch Darren.
Yeah, Nick is awesome. He is one of those gems in the hobby that just does it for the love of the animal. And if you go back to the original episode I did with him, he talks about getting caught up into the gotta have this, gotta have that, gotta have this, and ends up with a giant snake collection that he loved, but also it burnt him out because it just becomes that work of changing water dishes and changing paper and whatnot. And anyway, he's rediscovered his hobby in an amazing way.
We got him.
Oh
We
my
got him. Go
gosh,
for it, here,
Darren.
Oh, did I say darling right into the mic?
Yeah, you did. Everybody picked that up.
These are mine, man. You don't get these. You don't get
How
me.
do I hear?
You don't get it.
You can hear us just
I'm
like
too
that.
old to hear things, man. So I gotta
Yeah.
put these on.
Bring that close.
How we doing?
Yeah. I'll turn it up just a little bit. Say a couple things. Let's see.
A couple of things.
Yeah, you sound good.
wow.
You sound good. Yeah, I know. Next time I know I'm going to bring another set for the. I didn't think we'd even need them, but it's very loud in here.
Oh, good.
Anyway, how's the day going?
Day's going good. It's been busy. Lots of good turnout today. Lots of younger people. Lots of good questions that we don't necessarily think about on a daily basis. Younger crowd is always better for things that we don't necessarily hear or even
Yes.
consider when we're talking about our reptiles on a daily basis. I like it. It's fun.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, as Greg called you this morning in the car when we were alone, he called you a god.
Whoa.
I
Whoa.
think that was the words you used.
Yeah, that's a little uncomfortable, Greg.
Yeah, and I think it's just mostly due to the experience that you have, incredible experience, and just the length of time you've been involved in reptiles. So we will do a proper episode at some point where we can really flesh out the story, but maybe just to give us the Coles notes of when you got into keeping and what you're up to.
So, like a lot of other people, I got into it when I was just a kid. I grew up in Northern Ontario, at least spending my summers in Northern Ontario, and spent a lot of time in the lake and fishing and hunting frogs and turtles and stuff like that. And my mom is actually the one that got me into animals. We'd actually go herping together. catching
Oh, that's
frogs and
cool.
turtles and stuff together. We'd even go for canoe trips and grabbing turtles as we were just canoeing through the canals. And that's kind of how it all began when I was a kid, is just collecting animals and learning about nature and stuff like that. And wanting to bring stuff home, but necessarily couldn't because it wasn't appropriate. And just hanging out with other reptile-oriented kids like me and learning about what we could
what we could bring home, what was acceptable to bring home. Again, this is my mom's influence on me. Animals belong in the wild that you find in the wild, but you can learn from them. You can collect them, and learn from them, and then let them go, and then take that experience home with you, and do some research, and maybe find out what's available in the pet store and the hobby, and learn from that, and bring animal home and start from there. So I started with things like leopard geckos and fat-tailed geckos, and it just kind of, as we all know,
it goes from there. Yeah. At what point did you decide to dive into breeding? Because you've been breeding for a long time. You have quite an array of animals.
have. So I was, it probably sounds a little corny, but I was like 17, and I had some boa constrictors. Let's see, I had my Hog Island boas, my Nicaraguan boas, and actually had ball pythons even back in the day. Like my ball pythons, and I haven't had them for many years. And I wanted to have more animals, but mom and dad only gave me so much for a collection, so much for my my chore money.
Yes, allowance.
$20 a week or whatever it was. So I couldn't afford those animals. I couldn't afford more pets. I couldn't afford to feed more. And my parents, being good, my mom especially, driving me, said, well, if you want more responsibility, son, if you want to have more animals, and if you want to have the time and the things to take care of them properly, you need to pay for these things. And we're not going to pay for all this for you. You need to do it yourself. So I thought to myself, what can I do to afford to buy bigger cages and have these nicer reptiles? So I started breeding animals for the sake of being able to sell stuff, or at least give them to the pet store in exchange for rodents and stuff. It was never about being a breeder back then. It is now, even arguably. It was about paying for and affording what I had, and to treat them and maintain them appropriately as a kid. And it just, everything kind of, all of that made me who I am today. I'm really not that different today. I might have different tastes these days and a little bit more expensive taste too. But it kind of all grew from there, honestly.
Yeah, that's cool. It sounds like a great mom, by the way.
My mom was fantastic. My dad was too, but my mom was the animal person growing up. She really influenced me, and she actually steered me. She taught me the right from wrong. Like, we all wanted to grab a turtle from the wild and bring it home, put it in the aquarium, and keep it as a pet. And I wanted to too. Don't get me wrong, and I tried. But mom, she let me keep it at the cottage overnight or for the weekend, but then let it go. And we always went back to where we got it from. And I never understood that either. Why do we always have to paddle back out to where we got it from? But she instilled all that into me then. And she made me who I am now. Very much my mentality is, in a lot of ways, similar. Different, of course, but I've learned a lot from that.
Yeah, which is, it's amazing. They even going to bringing the science side of that, talking about re-releasing animals. They know that even relocating animals is essentially a death sentence.
Huge.
Because it's just like you're dropping them into a foreign environment. So even intuitively, she would sense that.
Right, and she didn't know that either then, right? But just, again, sounds corny, but as an animal person, you kind of think about these things, maybe not directly, but indirectly you have these considerations, and it helps you make better decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. So then over time, was there a specific focus? Like you say, you had, boas and ball pythons, and now you have, I don't even know if you can define what you work with.
I consider myself a generalist now.
Okay.
And there's a lot of reasons for that. There's no one reason. I started with turtles. Turtles was my thing for many years.
Interesting. I would never have known that.
Yeah. Turtles, aquatic turtles was my thing for many years, up to my mid-late teens. And then by the time I was like 17, 18, is when the reptile hobby was really beginning to take off. And back then, I think everyone was, back in my time, I hate to sound like the old guy because I'm not, but it was like, is it boas? Are boas popular? Are pythons popular? Are berms really popular then too? Everyone was getting into the larger, the boas, right? The larger bodied snakes. So I love turtles, but boas were the up and coming thing in the reptile hobby, and the reptile hobby was just taking off and growing. So boas are just, I think, I don't know what it was drew me to them. Honestly, it was the Hog Islands and Nicaraguans. They just had that click that just made me click. It wasn't even the fact that they were boas. It was the look. It was the care requirements. I knew that I could care for them. I knew that they were attractive to me, and I knew they were attractive to me for the reasons that I liked them, rather than because they were popular, or because popularity back then was different as well. A lot of people wanted a berm because it was big.
Classic.
Because it ate rabbits, or because it had a certain cool factor. I like boas just because of the way they look and the way they were, and that's the direction I started in.
Yeah. And you still work with a lot of those species.
I still have Nicaraguans and Amazon tree boas and my Hog Island boas since then. Yeah.
Wow.
It's weird thinking about those old times, like even in like the early 2000s. Old times. Even for me too. Like, I don't I mean, like even for me, like getting into the community or just the hobby in general, early days of the internet where you start seeing these images, and you can almost kind of remember what it would be like to think like, I wonder what it would be like to own that animal that you see on the screen, but you think you would never. Kind of like we were talking about the black tree monitor.
Yeah.
Like everything seemed like you could never have that.
Things are way different now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, now it's like you can walk around here and just see whatever you want.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of it. It's good though. Different isn't bad. Different is almost entirely good, actually.
Yeah.
Just because everything was available then doesn't make it better.
Yeah.
There's a lot of nuance to the conversation. There's many conversations as well.
Oh, yes.
It was a great experience. I was fortunate to have either worked within the pet stores with other working pet stores with other animals, or even kept myself. I was at a lot of availability to a lot of things that are a lot harder to find these days.
Yeah.
And I consider myself really fortunate for that.
So how many animals do you have at your house? Like, how big of a job is your reptile operation?
It's so now someone smiles and laughs. So to me, it's a lifestyle, and I mean that legitimately. I'm not saying it because it's popular, because it's a keyword or
buzzword. Yeah,
right. It has been my life since I was a kid. I'm not exaggerating when I said I was 16, 17.
Yeah.
As I was breeding sliders, I know it's a slider, but I was breeding sliders in my backyard as a kid when I was 16. It's always been a part of my life. So I don't look at animals and my animals that I have as a job. Yes, sometimes we have to treat things that way. Like I'm a business as well. I'm a registered business because it's the appropriate thing to do. But the amount of time and effort that I put into my animals is because that's who I am. I'm one of those people. I'm not a planner. It's my personality type. I'm super organized. In fact, that organization and having certain things to do each day is what keeps me engaged.
Yes, yeah.
It's not that I need something to do. It's I like drive. I like to have structure. It gives me motivation, and it keeps my brain healthy and engaged. I'm someone that needs to dispense my energy. Whether it's brain power or physical power, I need to dispense that. So having a collection, as I do, it gives me that opportunity to do that. So I usually maintain things over the span of the week. I try to maintain animals during the week and have my weekends to myself. That doesn't always work.
Yeah.
And that, honestly, because it's a lifestyle, I don't look at it like a lot of work. But if you're married with kids, obviously that changes. The size of your collection, potentially that changes. Even the complexity of animals or the requirements of those even animals, that changes too. So
yeah, no, I could totally relate to the organization factor. Like either going into chaos and it's like stuff, it's tough to actually get the motivation to do stuff. But if you have like a rigid thing, like this is what we're doing today, it's like boom, that like fire turns on. You're like, I'm doing all this stuff. Yeah.
So on that note, us reptile people, we tend to love the hunt. Of learning, and I don't mean hunting reptiles. I mean the hunt of learning information. That knowledge. Sometimes it is fun finding animals that are available. We love that too. We love all of that.
Yes.
One of the benefits I have is my day job. I'm an IT person. I'm an enterprise IT person, and I'm super technical by nature. And that is actually part of my hunt, if you will, as well. So keeping myself organized, I've been able to build my own applications. I build applications to help me maintain my collection.
Right.
I build applications. I even have my own database information that helps me manage and maintain my collections. And they help me do things like cleaning schedules, feeding schedules, even varied diet schedules. I have all of that built in my own applications to support myself. And that feeds my brain as well. It not only keeps my brain engaged with reptiles, but also feeds the IT side as well. So it works both ways.
Yeah. So is that something you have on a laptop and you just able to pop up a
so
program?
I have an app that works like on the web, or your laptop, your phone, or whatever. I also use Power BI in some of my maintenance. So I use Power BI for maintenance and tracking information.
Yeah.
Power BI is just it's a Microsoft product used for analytics.
Yeah.
And then I use an Excel database on the web to actually maintain most of my collection. And then I just use pivots and slicers to actually feeding schedules. Any of those technical people out there know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You can actually use Excel to help choose feeding schedules, days of the week, prey items, stuff like that. I love it all.
Yeah. I always hear people like, some people say you shouldn't schedule feeding because then it becomes too regular, but you can actually schedule irregular feedings.
I actually have.
It doesn't have to be irregular. You can do whatever you want, and it's good to have that.
That's right. I actually have scheduled variation, feeding variation.
Cool.
I've even included in it as well. Yeah. So I mean, scheduled maintenance and feedings isn't bad.
No.
Variation is good.
Yeah.
Right. But what's more important is when you have a larger collection, is making sure that you stay on top of it and maintaining it appropriately too.
So how many animals do you have?
I was like, he evaded that question really well. I was really proud of you, man.
Yeah.
A few,
yeah.
The number of animals doesn't matter. What matters is that you're appropriately available to take care of, maintain those animals. You have what's required to put into those animals.
He is no.
But
he's totally right.
No,
and
that's what matters.
Yeah.
So
that's the case.
And I will throw up my hand and say, I don't have children. I'm not married. My time and effort goes into my kids, which are my dogs. My kids are my dogs. You heard me say this all weekend.
Yeah.
And my reptiles. That's where I put all my effort. And that's a luxury, I might add. Some of us are married with kids. You both are. Yeah. And you have your own responsibilities, and there's nothing wrong with it. That's great. I respect that hugely. I have a benefit. It's a luxury that I have to put that much effort into it.
Yeah, and that's such a good point too. It's like, you're able to maintain all that because that's your lifestyle, and like you said, it's part of your life. And
that's right.
Some people let their collections get to a point where you can't integrate all these other things, and then you're kind of screwed because you're just it becomes expensive, and you have income.
Well, and you got to bend on something.
Exactly. Yeah,
and it can't be your kids and family.
Typically, no.
Well, usually isn't.
Sometimes. So what are some of you mentioned Amazon Tree Boas, a few other projects. Can you just list off a few other things that you're working on? Like I said, you have a very
he's trying to get this count.
Tell me how many females there?
So it's growing up, it was always the boas.
Yeah.
It was actually monitors too at one point. Never became a big monitor guy. I love my monitors, but boa, I love the locality stuff mostly.
Yeah.
Cockers, Nicaraguans, Hog Island boas. I love my epicrates too. Brazilians, Colombians, Guyanas. Love those a lot too. A big BCC guy. I love my Surinames, my Guyans, my Emerali, my Bolivian short-tails. Sorry for the Latin people.
Yeah.
Those have been primarily the boa groups. I do work with a lot. I love my Condoya complex.
Oh yeah.
Solomon Island ground boas, the tree boas, the biberoni. Aspera, really cool, really misunderstood, undervalued. Colubrids, king snakes, milk snakes, rat snakes.
If you opened up a book of reptiles, and you started reading it, those are the ones he likes.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Phelsuma.
I don't have
Phelsuma.
Yeah, a few.
Yeah. Euros.
I'm a big Euro guy right now. I actually have been for a long time. I always had Mallees, but over the last few years, I've gotten some Egyptians, some Garii, some this weekend I picked up some ocellated again for the first time since I was a kid. Euro's lots of fun.
Yeah. Is there a species that you worked with at one point and you were like, it's not for me? Like
There's never anything that turned me off. So there's a species I'm working with now that I purposely kept, even though I was really not sure it was for me.
Yeah.
And it's the Chinese king rat. Mm-hmm. So
I see her on your table.
That's right. So I really like the larger colubrids. They remind me of the boa body type, larger animal, but they're a whole different realm of care because they're way more active.
Yeah.
Way more agile in your hands, and they're way different. A different challenge for me. And the king rats, for anyone that got king rats, are challenging. They're squirrely as hell. They don't necessarily like being touched.
And they're big.
They're bigger animals. Well, they're big, not compared to boa maybe, but they're bigger.
Yeah.
Sure. And I had a hard time getting used to mine growing up. I kept saying to myself and Ashley, I'm like, they'll calm down eventually. They'll calm down. They'll stop mosking me. They'll stop biting me. They'll stop flying out of their viv at me.
Is that the stinking goddess? Is that that?
I believe so.
Is that the king rat?
So I believe that's correct. I'm not big with the common names. So always throw me.
I just remember that as like a moniker for that. I think it's
correct.
that species. Yeah. Because what's the Latin name for it?
Carnata.
Yeah, Carnata. Yeah, I think that is it. Yeah. So they musk a lot.
But so that being said, so Ashley and I talk about them because Ashley doesn't. She respects them, but because they're so challenging and because they are more flighty animals and because they are bitey animals, I looked at first of it. I was like, I'm not sure I could do this. I'm not sure if it's for me. But then I was like, wait a minute. Because it's hard doesn't make it worse. Yeah. It makes it a challenge. Suck it up. Let's figure this out.
Yeah.
So I was never good at tailing large colubrids. Got better at it. I was never good at redirecting colubrids because I never had to. I always had the larger bowheads that never required any redirecting.
Oh, because they're so slow. Yeah.
And that's kind of where I've gone with the larger colubrids is with the king rats anyways. Is even though I was starting to not like them in the beginning, that's kind of the way I've taken it. But other than that, honestly, I've never really run into anything that I disliked or turned me off. It's all different for different reasons. I like anyways. I shouldn't put it on everyone else. I like different animals for different reasons. I don't have favorites. I have areas of interest. Other areas of interest.
Yeah.
Like our Phelsuma.
Yeah.
Our lovely vocal singing geckos.
Yeah. And I like that too. Like you know, you can have a problem area with a species, and a lot of times that could be the area that you actually enjoy the most if you have spent some time. Like, you know, you learned how to handle them and tail them and do all this extra stuff that you didn't have the skill set before. And then suddenly that's fun to learn.
Yeah.
But if you use that as a reason to not actually get into it, then you'll never learn it. And
you use it as a crutch.
That's right.
Exactly. Yeah. So try to remove that line of thought for a minute. Look at it differently.
Yeah.
And some of it, I think, has to do with how you communicate with the people you have around you to have the chats and communication with. It can make an animal more or less exciting. Even if it's a challenging animal, you can kind of go with that and talk about the challenges and just have the debate with your friends of like, no, I'm enjoying this because of this.
Agreed.
And can make it a little more exciting.
Agreed. And we have talked about that. Again, we watched the Phelsuma.
Yeah.
You and I've talked about that already a couple of times this weekend because we have Phelsuma on our table and we want to find them appropriate homes. The key being appropriate, though. Yes. Beautiful gecko. Incredible. All the Phelsuma are beautiful, but are they appropriate to be handled? No.
Yeah.
And do we say that to people that are asking questions? Yes, but they shouldn't look at it like, oh, I can't touch it, therefore I don't want it. You should look at different animals for different reasons.
100%.
Respect them for different reasons. Yeah. Respect the animal respect the animal for what it is and why.
Yes.
Not because you want something out of that animal. And we really connected on that. And I respected that this weekend. I like that.
Yeah. Well, it'd be kind of like a dart frog. Like no one comes to a dart frog table and say, oh, can I handle it? I don't think. Or maybe we could ask Mark Pepper. I'm sure they're getting that.
I'm sure he does.
People get asked interesting questions.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with the question, but I think the key is the education.
Totally, yeah. Because you could have said, yeah, you could work with that gecko, and maybe you could have a gecko that you can hold. But really, realistically, a Phelsuma, especially a small species, you know, you're going to freak the hell out of it. It's going to be up your wall in 2 seconds. You're going to be running around with a catch cup.
Yeah, my Kochi are amazing.
Yeah.
I love my Kochi. They've all been amazing for me.
I know people with gold dust that they're like, these are the loveliest little things ever.
Yeah, you see the ones in Hawaii, right? They feed them right off the table. Just come up right on the table.
So
it's such a good point.
But you can't depend on that.
No.
Is the problem, and social media
can trick people,
prepares people to depend on these special circumstances. You know,
it does. There's a lot of coercion there.
Yeah.
And you're so right. Like if you want an animal that you could hold, you can get like a boa or a ball python or something that's a little bit more manageable, or even a chameleon, right? Something that's slow and you're not going to be handling it all the time. But like yesterday, you had sold a tokay gecko, but you weren't here when it sold. I forget who was here when it sold, and you were very concerned.
Before I walked away, what did I say?
Well, I only heard when you came back. Because when you came back, someone said it was sold, and then you were kind of concerned. You said, "Did you tell them it's aggressive?"
That's the very first thing I said.
And you were like, "Please make sure." And it's like, "Yes, we told them." I think Joey maybe sold it.
Yeah, it was Joey. Yeah.
And you were like, "That needs to be told." Like, and it was an aggressive tokay gecko.
It
wasn't like, "No, you could maybe make it work." And,
and she was aware of that. She was cool with that.
Yeah, because she had worked with
you look
before.
at what's her name? I think, at Reptile Smiles on Instagram.
Michelle.
Yeah, and her tokay.
It's like a sweetheart.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Some
like
are great.
it's
Same with
insane.
Dion, right? Dion has one too.
But hers is like on another level.
Yeah, it makes
like
no sense.
I have never seen anything like that. And the problem I have with it becomes
it's not.
I don't want to say problem. It's
challenge.
It's not what someone is going to encounter when they buy themselves.
It's an unreasonable expectation.
Like
for
that's
tokay.
that either she's a whisperer for them, which she does great with animals. So I'm sure there's definitely a level of that, you know.
Or it's just a one-off scenario.
Or it's a one-off along with a good
cool
person.
Looking geckos too.
And they're to have one that's like
chill.
Like hangs with her, man. Like it
taking
is
your face
unreal.
off. Yeah.
And that's one of those hiccups, in my opinion, of kind of.
It's not unheard of, though.
No,
it's
not
not.
unheard of.
No. Really, there's a huge divide between, and that's what part of our job is, right? But there's a huge divide typically between people behind the tables here and the people in the aisles.
Yes.
Part of our job is to bridge that divide, right? And not all tokays are aggressive. Most of them typically are, but some of them just require work. Some of them are just better by nature. But either way, the key for me is to not set a definitive, to say that tokays are aggressive. The key is to say the keeper needs to be patient and learn the needs of the animal.
Yeah.
That is the key.
Well, the amount of money people spend on training their dog not to eat their shoes, they'd never think about spending that kind of money to get, you know, whatever, their green iguana not to do something. Or
exactly.
You know, it's we haven't equalized them as companions in our lives in society quite yet.
I'm still trying with my tokays.
Yeah. But I just like that idea of you meet the animal where they are. You don't try to take the animal and form it into something that you're expecting it to be, which is what social media creates. And you're sort of like putting it through this extruder and hoping to get something on the other end. It's like, no, you're the keeper. The animal has its tools, its behaviors, its whatever, and you're meeting it where it is, and you interact with it in that zone.
Agreed.
And every animal has a different zone, and that's such a key part of keeping animals, any animal.
Yeah, and that zone changes.
Totally, yeah. Because you work with that animal, it might, whatever. Yeah, no, that's cool.
But
awesome. Well, Darren, we're hitting almost 3 hours here, and I think
my ears are killing me.
Yeah, we've been going a long time. Yeah. So I think we're gonna wrap up. Is Charles still kicking around?
Well, he was.
You know what?
I think he wanted to come on.
I know.
But
I feel bad because he wanted to come on.
He was lingering, but you know, we did get to talk to God.
How can you? It doesn't seem right to have someone come on after God. It just can't happen.
He could be anywhere is the problem.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'll tell him I'll do a proper episode with him at some point, and we'll do a proper episode as well.
Sounds great.
Because that'd be awesome. Well, Darren, thank you so much for dropping by. This was awesome. You're a wealth of knowledge, and I like your mindset. And that was on the live. I can't wait to rewatch that. And we'll let you get back to the booth, and we'll come pop by and see you in a bit. Yeah, thanks, Darren. That was awesome. Yeah, that was great. I have to pee so bad.
Oh my god,
my ears hurt, my back hurts.
Yeah.
Emma, I see that you're asking about the Darren's app. My guess is he probably can't.
I think it's a private app.
Yeah.
I don't think he has anything out. It's just his own personal stuff he's doing.
Maybe we can convince him one day. I think the difference between private app and out there is a big difference workload.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got to get lunch.
I know. Yeah, we got to eat. We got to.
We're dying.
Yeah, I know. One of the only app I've used is actually Husbandry Pro.
There's a couple of them.
Yeah, there are a few of them out there.
Yeah. I'm a pen and paper guy.
I'm kind of somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
And then I just forget to do any of it.
Yeah. I like paper. That's why it's fast.
I've started to try and get better. I'm trying actually. My latest attempt is I'm taking photos of things.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I'm trying to put those photos into folders.
Oh, okay. To keep it organized.
And
then you
to
can
be like, oh,
yes.
When were these eggs laid? And I can go to the egg laid section.
Timestamped. Yeah.
And it's kind of really bad, but.
Well, and I find too with we don't want to go on a tangent here, but with snakes,
yes, we do.
Like with snakes, I find look at these big boys.
Oh.
Big dogs walking by. With snakes, I find record keeping is a little bit more important because you could forget did I feed this 5 weeks ago? 6
Yes.
Where piranhas or geckos,
Yeah,
feeding
yeah.
every couple of
Feeding
days.
is the feeding.
You're not taking notes on feeding.
No,
Or snakes
no,
you
no.
are because it's a little bit.
It's
more
really
like-
just eggs and
yeah. So
and temps and stuff.
anyway, unless you see Charles, which I don't think. Sorry, Charles.
I don't see Charles.
I think we're gonna wrap
So-
up. This was awesome. This
This-
was a long one. Thanks for
It
sticking through
was.
it the whole way.
Yeah, yeah.
We had some
yeah.
cool
It was
conversations with
great.
people today.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was a great day.
I felt like
Really great day.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
cool. Okay,
Yeah.
all right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. Please share it with people because I'm sure you got some. There's amazing golden nuggets within this episode. So thank you for tuning in. Make sure you go follow Greg at Beneath the Canopy Exotics. Hey, James. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Anything from you?
I probably won't see you in the next episode, but that's no one's fault but Dillon's.
Yeah, that's my fault. Yeah. So anyway, thank you guys very much, and we'll catch you later.
Yep. Thanks
Bye.
a lot.